And good morning. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. It's Friday, and our chief grand poobah, Stan the Fan Charles, is back in studio with us. Good to see you, sir.
Good to see both of you.
So we have
I mean that sincerely.
On other weeks, not so much. Like some weeks,
exactly. I missed you after last week.
Yeah, right. The heart grew fonder. I understand that, but no more absence. So next week when we come back in, you're gonna be like, "Oh, these assholes again."
Well,
Gotta deal with
it's
it.
not quite that visceral,
okay.
but it's pretty bad.
We got a lot to do on the program today, and we're gonna get started right out of the chute because Bo Smolka is gonna join us in just a second. Also this morning, Jay Feely will join us as he will be on the call Sunday for CBS for Ravens-Browns. We'll talk some World Series and remember the legendary Fernando Valenzuela with former Oriole Jerry Hairston, who's been part of the Dodgers broadcast crew for a few years. And then later on in the program, Hall of Famer Kurt Warner is going to check in with us. He did a video this week about Lamar Jackson. I need you to know this is not a Mike Tirico situation, Stan. He would have
just getting ready.
He would have been willing to talk to you.
Wanted very much
In
to
fact,
talk.
yes. Just timing didn't work out to make it plausible. It's not he's not a sworn enemy or anything like that, the way that Tirico is. And then also
I'm not on his enemies list.
I don't believe so, no. And then
goodness.
we'll get you segment number 3 of the Arthur Maulet Show. All of that on tap today. We begin every Friday. We catch up with our PressBox Ravens beat writer, Bo Smolka, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. Bo, good morning, bud. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything is good, man. It's funny because we kept waiting to see when the Ravens schedule would finally break, and there would be a week where it didn't look like it was Murderer's Row, other than the game they lost in week 2, ironically. And it seems like on paper this would be the week, and I almost feel like there's a nervousness from this fan base that comes along with that, right? Like this is the game that you shouldn't be sweating, so it just sort of feels like naturally you almost have to sweat it.
I mean, I think that's fair, and it's just that it feels, Cleveland with Deshaun Watson out. Excuse me, with Deshaun Watson out, they're turning Jameis Winston at quarterback. They've changed the play caller this week. Stefanski has given up that duty, and Ken Dorsey is going to take over as the play caller. And it suddenly just feels fresh in Cleveland. And whether that's going to work or not, it seemed, whether the Watson injury happened or not, quite frankly, it felt like they needed a change of some kind. And this gives them something new. And, and that's, I think there's some potential danger there. I think Cleveland can feel invigorated a little bit, at least at it going into the game. We'll see how it is in the third quarter or whatever. But, I think the nervousness could be there. Let's face it, Jameis Winston will throw the ball. There's no doubt about it. He's a proven passer. Does he have the weapons to achieve? That's questionable, but he will sling it. And the Ravens defense has proven to be vulnerable in that capacity. So, yeah, I think it's reason to be nervous. I mean, you're right on paper. It looks like it's the Ravens are a prohibitive favorite, but you go on the road in the AFC North, there are certainly no guarantees.
So I feel like the one concern going into Sunday, well, I guess it's twofold. So Zay Flowers hasn't practiced yet this week. I don't know what to make of that because he did finish the game last week, but I think we're operating at this point under the assumption that Marlon Humphrey is not likely to be out there on Sunday.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. I mean, he, like Flowers, Humphrey hasn't practiced all week. And unlike Flowers, Humphrey didn't return to the game when he left it at Tampa Bay. So I would expect we won't see him. Now, I'll be honest, Wednesday it seemed really troubling because Humphrey and Wiggins and TJ Tampa, 3 cornerbacks, all missed practice. And Tampa hasn't done a lot yet. But anyway, Wiggins was back yesterday and he practiced fully, so it looks like he's good to go. The Ravens also are getting Arthur Maulet back this weekend. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to lose Humphrey for a game, this might be the one that you can most afford to. I say that having just said Winston will throw the ball around, but you've got Arthur Maulet coming back, and you've got a Cleveland team that traded away their best wide receiver. And so I think it's probably as good as you can hope for a day when you might not have Humphrey. But I don't expect Humphrey to play. But I'll say, I know you have the Arthur Maulet show. I talked to Arthur in the locker room yesterday. That guy is just itching to get out there and play. And so I think he will offer a big lift as well, and he can take over in the slot where Humphrey was playing a lot.
Bo, is there much talk in the locker room about a Glenn Clark radio curse? I mean, with Tyus Bowser injured so much,
and then Arthur
now
Maulet.
Arthur
Jeez,
Maulet,
man, what the heck?
Is there
It
a lot
has
of?
not come up.
Yeah, it hasn't come up.
I did not. It didn't come up in my talk with Arthur Maulet yesterday.
We're talking about doing a cover story on it in the very near future.
That is rough, man.
Yeah.
It's
Well, we dig deep.
Yeah.
Hey, Bo, I got to ask you a question. I know you cover the Ravens for us, so you're not intimately involved in decision making. Do you have any insights on why the Cleveland Browns didn't keep Joe Flacco around?
No, actually, I don't. I'll say this: I know that their fan base was endeared to him.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when I read that the Colts were the only team that called Flacco this offseason. And I know that the Browns thought Watson was their guy. They paid him to be their guy, and they figured he was coming back healthy to be their guy. I don't know if they just thought that would be this quarterback controversy they didn't want or what. I don't know. But, good for Flacco. He's still playing at a high level. He's still winning. He looks to be still having a lot of fun.
Yep.
But, yeah, I can say this. By the third week of the season, I think there were plenty of people in Cleveland were ruining that decision.
Just real quick, what kind of dollars would it have cost the Browns? In other words, it's you've got your money invested in Deshaun Watson, but what, God forbid, he's playing well and he gets injured. Wouldn't you want to have Joe Flacco over the two guys that they have? And wouldn't it have only cost like about $2.5–3 million to sign him with an understanding he gets more if he plays more?
I mean, I think that probably could be something you could have done, and Flacco, by all accounts, really enjoyed being there. But, yeah, business decisions get made, and let's face it, Cleveland's got a history of not making some real good ones.
No.
Not Cleveland.
There they are.
The same Cleveland Browns that we're talking about? Bo Smolka is with us here on GCR. Bo, the other news, you mentioned Arthur Maulet. The other news this week, Keaton Mitchell also opens up the practice window for his return, and nobody's expecting that to be, I think it seems likely it's probably at the tail end of his 21 days that we'll see Keaton Mitchell return. Look, in no world, if somebody says, well, that's a good problem to have, I don't like using that term because there's no problem involved with having more good football players. But I did think it was interesting on Monday night seeing the amount of time late in the second quarter and then into the third that Derrick Henry was off the field and trying to decipher what the Ravens might be doing to try to protect Derrick Henry for late in the second half and making sure that he is as healthy of a version as he can be going into the postseason, and how adding in a third back might even be more helpful for that, not because they want less Derrick Henry specifically, but in trying to keep him fresh for those specific circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably true. And I've said this, I think it was 2 of the last 3 games. I mean, the one game, the Cincinnati game, I think it was, where he wasn't playing much at all in the second and third and fourth quarters because they were scrambling to play from behind. They were passing a lot. And then they got to overtime, and he gets the ball. And here's a rested Derrick Henry going against a defense in the 5th quarter, and it just doesn't even seem fair. So if he can get him into situations where he's relatively rested late, I mean, the consensus is he gets stronger as games go on anyway. But against a tired defense late in the game, he is so good. We've seen most of his biggest, longest runs this year have come late in games. And adding Keaton Mitchell as a third back would be, it would help, and it probably would help ration his workload. They have a third back technically on the roster now, Chris Collier. The third back, whoever it has been, it was Kelly for a little while. I'm not even sure. I'd have to go back and look. I can't remember seeing them on the field for an offensive snap.
I don't, yeah.
And I think Keaton Mitchell, you probably would in some times. Now, you're right. Keaton Mitchell, I know people are excited about him. He's surely not going to be activated, I would think, until near the end of his time. It was a significant injury. He's got a brace on his knee when he's out on the practice field, so they're easing him back. But they've put him back, which means he started a 21-day window. Now, he would need to be active to the roster after that 21 days. That's not to say he would be game day active that 21 days. And I don't know. But they're not going to start his window unless they think he can be ready in 21 days. We asked John Harbaugh earlier this week about, what are you looking for in him to know? And he said, really, can he make the cuts? Can he change direction? Does he have the burst? Does he have all those things that you want to have? And these guys work with trainers daily to get close enough to try it. And so they have to feel comfortable that he's getting close enough. And so he will be a lift, and let's face it, we've seen it last year. He's an exciting guy. I don't think we'll know until he gets back out there. Does he have the same burst? Remember, we saw J.K. Dobbins, and for a while there, it just didn't look like he did. And so that's still going to be a question until Keaton Mitchell gets back on the field.
For Mitchell, Bo, do you think it would actually be better for him to miss the entire season and just continue to strengthen that and work on agility things, or do you think it doesn't really matter?
I mean, I'm sure you could argue that, and by the time he gets back, they'll have maybe 5 games left. I think,
right.
5 or 6 games left if he's there at that time. You could probably make that argument, but I suspect they may want to try him back on kick return. Even maybe we've seen the speed. So I think the options are open. Let's face it, they can always do that. They can have him try for this 21 days, and if they don't think it's there, they can shut him down and put him to IR. So This gives them a chance. It hedges their bets for a little while, and then they can make that decision in 3 weeks.
Bo, my last question for you is, when the Ravens were 0-2, did you foresee this right around the corner, a 5-game winning streak? Or did you think –
Well, it's funny, Glenn –
Yeah,
Glenn asked me this roughly last week, and no, I didn't see that because I looked at the schedule ahead and saw Cincinnati and Buffalo, and I thought this could get sideways on them.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I looked at that and said, they were literally Isaiah Likely's toe away from winning at Kansas City in the opener, or at least having a chance to win with a 2-point try. So they played well in that Kansas City game, and they played well against Dallas, except for the fourth quarter. So it's a team that had played well. But, no, I didn't expect them to win 5 in a row after they were 0-2 because I saw Cincinnati and Buffalo staring at them coming up. To their credit, they've turned it around. They said all along our offensive line is going to get better, and it has. And obviously Lamar Jackson's playing at another MVP level.
Yep.
And then before we let you go, Bo, I know this is not the only game that you're interested in this week.
No, it's not. I'm excited. Navy, Notre Dame, a game that's dear to my heart. I worked my first job out of college. I was the assistant SID at Navy, and then my son went to Notre Dame. I've always loved the game, and so I actually wrote a story that's going to be up on PressBox this morning about the history of this rivalry, which is so interesting because Notre Dame during World War II was basically going to go broke. They were running out of money. It was an all-male school at the time. And they had essentially enrollment had plummeted, endowment had plummeted. They were going to go out of business. And then they approached the Navy about using the South Bend campus as a training ground. And ironically, they also approached Army about using the South, and Army declined. Navy accepted, and Navy brought Navy enlistees and to the South Bend campus throughout the war. It kept Notre Dame afloat, basically. And after that, Notre Dame's president at the time, Hesburgh, basically said Navy's going to be on our schedule as long as Navy wants to be on our schedule. And so that's why Navy and Notre Dame played every year they played every year since like the 1920s, except for the COVID year. But the season, a lot of times in the 80s and 90s when Navy wasn't any good, people were like, why is Navy playing Notre Dame? Why is Notre Dame bothering playing Navy? And that's why. So it's always a great game. And this year it's a huge game because they're both nationally ranked and kind of, I think right now on the outside looking in for this playoffs. So it's a fun game, and I'm looking forward to it.
And he's already got one story up, and as he mentioned, there'll be another one coming at PressBoxOnline.com about Navy Notre Dame. At B Smolka on Twitter is always where you follow him. Bo, appreciate you, sir. We will talk to you again next Friday.
Thanks, Bo.
All right, thanks. Take care.
PressBox Ravens beat writer Bo Smolka trying to pull some double duty this week ahead of Navy Notre Dame as well. That's tomorrow at noon.
Is his son still at Notre Dame?
I would have thought he was. But when he said my son went to Notre Dame, I was also
Okay.
thrown off by that.
God, it's been that.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been that long, but Bo's son Matt went to Notre Dame, or is still at Notre Dame, and maybe I don't know.
Graham still in college?
Yes, but Clown College.
Oh, he's going to Clown College in Tampa. In
and I got to be honest with you, we didn't know he was going to get in. It's really had to pull a
in
few
Sarasota?
strings in order
Clown
to
College?
pull that off. Yeah, we're Subway University. That was where we were able to get the boy into, and you know what? We're very proud of him. We're very, very proud of him. We will get back into football conversation here in a few minutes when Jay Feely joins us, but we're going to dip out, talk some baseball for a second. Today's show, actually speaking of Ravens-Browns, immediately following Sunday's game, you want to come over and join us for Project Game Day. We will be with you immediately following the game at PressBoxOnline.com/game day. Myself, Rita, Super Bowl champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and whoever else ends up hopping on with us and joining us. Every game day, all season long, immediately following the game, come hang out with us. It's brought to you by BetYard AI, the Green Turtle Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. That's Project Game Day every game day this season. Spend time with us, PressBoxOnline.com/game day. You and I did our picks yesterday. We are not as nervous about the fact that everybody thinks this one is the easy one. Just the way that the Ravens are playing.
The way the Ravens are playing, and this is a team really up against it right now. This looks like Stefanski's kind of last stand.
There's a danger in desperate teams, but this feels more dysfunctional than desperate.
That's what it feels like
to me as well.
Yeah.
All right. Getting underway tonight, of course, the World Series out in Los Angeles for Game 1. Joining us now to tell us about that, but also want to talk to him about a legend that we lost in the sport this week. He is, of course, a former Oriole, and he has been part of the Dodgers broadcast team for a long time. He's our friend Jerry Hairston Jr., and he is back with us now here on GCR. Jerry, it's Glenn and Stan here in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you for taking some time for us.
Anytime, guys. Hope you guys are doing well.
Everything is good here, other than we wouldn't have minded if the Orioles would have been in this. But it's what it is. Nothing we can do about it now. Jerry, obviously I know that the backdrop for the celebration of the World Series this week is a great deal of sadness in Los Angeles, and I know Fernando Valenzuela continued to be around that club and was part of the broadcast crew for years, and I just wondered if you could give us a sense of what he meant to that city, to that organization, and to everyone who got to know him over the years.
Well, listen, the word legend is tossed around a lot. In the sports world, I think, legend is an understatement. What he did to this community here in L.A., Southern California, the Mexican community, the Latin community, he really brought baseball back in the mix when he really set the world on fire in 1981 as a 20-year-old, starting out his career 8-0, shutouts, doing his thing, and he definitely electrified the sports world. Fernando Mania was a thing that really captivated not just baseball, like I mentioned, sports. But, he was a great pitcher, an absolute legend, in my opinion, an icon. But being around him for a lot of years, you mentioned that he did work on a broadcast team. He did the Spanish for us. I would see him all the time. We played golf together occasionally. He was such a humble person. He carried the weight when he was playing of an entire country, Mexico, where my mom is from, but he never carried himself like that. Very humble, kind, and funny. Funny in both languages, Spanish and English. A tremendous friend, and 63 is way too young, and it happened so fast. We've got word that he was sick a couple months ago. He stepped away from the broadcast booth, and now learning of his passing. It's been crushing, man, for our Dodger family and organization.
Jerry,
does
sure.
the math work out? Like you guys, he was not in, but you would not come up by the time he had shown up in Baltimore, right? And
no.
You were still a couple.
I've since retired. Yes.
Yeah, I thought
that's what I was getting at. Is I just looked it up today because in my mind's eye, he pitched for the Orioles like around 2004 or something like that. It's 1993.
Wow.
So that's 31 years ago. We had the pleasure of seeing him here, and he started off, Glenn, his first 5 or 6 starts were just absolutely like, what are they doing? All of a sudden, and I think it was sort of, well, he had one other season in San Diego 3 years later where he won 13 games. But, man, for about a 10 or 12 game stretch, he was like the Fernando of old. Every game was like a low run total allowed and just really kept the hitters off balance. It was really magical to see him.
Yeah, and that's what he was. He was a guy that, was a magician on the mound, a tremendous competitor, loved to win. And, he'd want me to say this. He could also swing the bat. I know we went
yes,
to the
I remember that.
Able to swing the bat, but when he was in the National League, he could handle that bat. And I'm sure if, in this generation with Shohei Ohtani, given the opportunity, he could have easily been that two-way guy. Great athlete, incredible golfer, great competitor. And like I said, listen, he is going to be deeply missed, not just obviously in L.A., but really all over the sports world because he was a man that was well-respected.
I appreciate you sharing that with us, and I can see particularly what he meant to the city of Los Angeles and the Dodgers fans in my life who, love Fernando Valenzuela truly like he was Jackie Robinson, like just an icon of the game. Jerry Hairston Jr. is with us here on GCR. Jerry, that said, the World Series does begin tonight. And they were pushed a little bit by the Padres, obviously, but I think the consensus is the Dodgers are the team to beat. That said, how has this happened given they do not have the starting pitching that you usually think of? Like, I'm used to Dodgers teams that have, 7 starting pitchers by the time you get to this point of the season. How have they been able to do this without having that level of starting pitching?
You have guys in the clubhouse are playing with a chip on their shoulders. Ever since Manny Machado threw the ball at Dave Roberts, that energized this ball club. That lit a fire under them. And then a lot of people picked the Padres to beat them. They feel they have enough to win it all, win the World Series no matter who they're playing. Now, listen, anytime you lose to Tyler Glasnow, your ace, that's going to hurt a little bit. They've had guys that step up in their starting rotation. Jack Flaherty, outside of the hiccup he had with the Mets, and he was severely under the weather, he's pitched well. Walker Buehler has given us a chance to win. Yamamoto is back healthy. If they continue to give us length, they should have the best bullpen in all of baseball. Our bullpen has been lights out. They've done a great job. And on the offensive side, these guys work counts. They don't swing at pitchers' pitches, and they grind out at bat. So if that continues, they're going to be a tough out in this World Series.
Two health questions. Will Freddie Freeman be able to play at all?
Yes, Freddie's coming back, and he'll be starting game 1.
Okay. And Vezina, Alex Vezina, the left-handed reliever, will he make the roster?
I have a feeling he will. I know the rosters that need to be announced, I think, in the next couple hours.
Yep.
I believe that he has – he feels he's healthy.
Yep.
And I think it's vital that he's on this roster, especially when you have a lineup that has Juan Soto in it. You need a couple left-handed relievers to negate him. He's an incredible player, and he's having a great postseason. So I have a feeling Vezina will make the roster.
Real quick, my prediction was Dodgers in 6. It really doesn't matter how many games you predict or something like that. My reasoning, though, was with 4 days off between the end of the Mets series and tonight, then an off day after 2 games, and then another off day, I think this bullpen, Dave Roberts is uniquely going to be able to keep them fresh enough and dominant enough. I think if they get 3-4 innings out of their starters, I think they're in great shape.
I completely agree. The 4 days, 5 days they've had off in the bullpen, I think that sets them up nicely. And then you add maybe a Vezina and a Brusdar Graterol into the mix.
Yeah.
Just makes that bullpen so much deeper. So I think advantage Dodgers in that aspect. I have the Dodgers winning in 7. I think it's going to be a great series against two great teams. But I think I would give the edge to the Dodgers. I think their lineup is deeper. We know about the star power, but I think collectively, I think the Dodgers have a deeper lineup.
Jerry, what, if anything, does scare you going into the World Series, right? Like, if it were to go wrong for the Dodgers, it's because what?
Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
You know, Aaron Judge hasn't really hit his stride in the postseason. You have a feeling he's due. He's just too great of a player, you know, so he scares me in this series. I think Juan Soto, I mentioned it, I mean, he is a generational talent. 25 years young, and he feels like he's been in the big leagues, been a star for 10 years. So I think those two guys, I know Giancarlo Stanton is having a great postseason as well, but the fact that Aaron Judge hasn't hit his stride yet, that scares me a little bit because you know he's due to go on a tear.
Jerry, one more thing for me. Garrett Cole, I had heard somebody, I think it might have been the play-by-play guy on the last game of the Mets series, was saying that there's talk that Garrett Cole will pitch games 1, 4, and 7. And to me, that would be a huge mistake. I don't think Garrett Cole, as presently, physically, I don't think he's ready to start 3 games out of 7. I think you'd be much better off starting him 2. And to me, he's the whole key to the series.
You know, he is the whole key to the series for the Yankees because they've won every game he has started in the postseason. He's their ace.
I did not realize
I think it's vital. I think it's vital that they win his starts. I think that's why they're maybe thinking about doing that. But again, you go to the World Series to win. You'll have plenty of time in the offseason to rest your arms, rest your body. So whatever Aaron Boone and his staff feel is best for their team to compete and win, they're going to do that.
Jerry, if I could, the fact that the Dodgers have had so much success with it, we saw what the Tigers were doing. Do you feel like this offseason is going to lead to like an era where we're never going to see a starting pitcher face a batter for the 3rd time in postseason history ever again?
No, you know what? I don't think that's the way to go, guys. Trust me, being here, kind of watching this Dodger team, we had so many pitchers go down. We put so much stress on our bullpen. It's not sustainable. So, you know, we have hopefully 4 more wins to go.
Yeah.
But we would have loved to have Gavin Stone in our rotation right now. We'd love to have, obviously, Dustin May. You know, guys like Tyler Glasnow. We want starters to go deep in the ball games. Listen, we have an elite bullpen. We know that. But they're elite when they're rested. And you can't sustain that much wear and tear in the bullpen, and Dodgers know that. We've done a great job keeping these guys fresh and putting them in position to succeed. But the ideal, and I think it'll always be, is having guys pitch deep in the ball games.
At The Real J Hair on Twitter is how you follow him, Jerry. Enjoy this week. Obviously, the enemy of our enemy is our friend, so we're Dodgers fans here in Baltimore this week and pulling for you guys. Thank you, as always, for taking the time for us this morning, man. We really appreciate it.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks, Jerry.
The great Jerry Hairston with us here on GCR.
Does a terrific job as an
he's
analyst.
Excellent as an analyst. He's an excellent analyst. Appreciate him taking the time. I'll have you break down the World Series a little bit more in a minute, but just want to share a Fernando Valenzuela thought before we do that.
My big thought was there's a couple things, really. Fernando Mania was one of the most – it was – along with Mark the Bird Fidrich.
Okay.
And you're way too young for that. But you've heard tale of it. Fernando Mania was just unbelievable. And I'll never forget when Dylan Bundy got healthy that first time, and I watched him pitch, and I asked Buck Showalter a question, and I couched in something I had written, saying that I think Baltimore's really going to see Bundy Mania, and it never came off, needless to say. But Fernando Mania to me was one of the more exciting. Every time he pitched, it was really, really exciting.
I was trying to come up, when we were talking about it, I was trying to come up with a modern parallel in sport, because when we hear Mania, somebody will say, well, did Tim Tebow thing? No, Tim Tebow was Fernando Valenzuela was a great pitcher. Like, he was he's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's in the Hall of really, really good. It was not a flash in the pan. It wasn't a a moment in time. It was sustained. I have tried to come up, and I have struggled to come up with a modern sports,
There aren't many of them. To say what Flacco did.
It's so funny. That's the name I came up with.
Last year.
The overall, like, in moments, brilliant.
Yeah.
Overall, good, right? Like, with moments of brilliance, but an overall, good career.
I'm looking at Fernando's numbers, and it's funny because he's a legendary figure.
Mm-hmm.
But after 87,
right?
He started in 80. He only pitched 17 innings and was 2-0. But then he won 13, 19, 15, 12 and 17, 17, 21, 14. After that, you'd really be pressed to call him a great pitcher, And what happened was his strikeouts dropped so precipitously that like one season when he pitched for the Dodgers in 1990, he was 13-13 with a 4.59 ERA, 204 innings. He struck out 115 batters. That wasn't Fernando. Now he wasn't a more than an inning strikeout per guy, but he was a guy that would strike out a fair amount of batters. His last 10 years in the big leagues, he struck out very few hitters.
But that 6-year run
was tremendous.
Spectacular.
Yeah.
Spectacular 6-year run for Fernando Valenzuela.
And it was similar at home when it was must view.
Right.
You had to be there.
Correct.
And much the way it was when Koufax was pitching at Dodger Stadium.
Well, and you add in what he meant. Jerry brought that up. What he meant to Mexican people, and the number of Angelinos who are of Mexican descent, and how that relationship, made it all the more special for them to see it. Truly a special time and safe home, Fernando Valenzuela.
Yeah.
All right, we continue on here on a Friday edition of the program. Ravens-Browns is Sunday in Cleveland. Our next guest will be on the call, and he was almost Stan, I actually brought this guy on a few weeks back when Justin Tucker was struggling. I was like, well, I need to talk to someone who understands, and he was almost kind of laughing at us.
He would have figured it out.
And he was right, because everything is just fine. He is Jay Feely, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Jay, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. You can go ahead and remind me. You can say, you guys were silly. Why did you think there was a problem? This is Justin Tucker. You knew all along it was going to be just fine.
I just want to clarify, I wasn't one of the guys.
Yeah, it was
okay.
Me.
All right.
Everybody backs out, in retrospect, right?
Have you? Is there anything that
he's the best of all time for a reason?
Well, that's true. Is there anything that you've noticed that's actually been different, or is it just as simple as sometimes you miss kicks and that happens, and he started making them?
No, I think I read that he said he went and he looked at a couple of things and just tightened up, his form a little bit. And you're going to do that all throughout, whether you're a quarterback or a kicker or a cornerback. You're always looking at your technique and looking for ways that you can get better and more consistent. And, sometimes when you're making kicks, you stop looking at it as much and your form kind of can get off. And so when you miss a couple of kicks, you got to go back, you got to look, and you got to say, hey, am I doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? And then just kind of clean it up a little bit. And I'm sure that's exactly what Justin did.
And all is right in the world again, and Justin Tucker is Justin Tucker. Jay, as we go into this game on Sunday, I want to present two sets of words that start with D, and you tell me which two words you think are closer to describing the Cleveland Browns. Are they desperate and therefore dangerous, or dysfunctional and more likely defeated?
Great question.
Well, it's certainly been dysfunctional there since they got Deshaun Watson. I mean, there's been times they made the playoffs last year and they started 5 different quarterbacks. Kevin Stefanski was the coach of the year. He did an unbelievable job last year finding ways to win games. But they did it with a defense that played as well as anybody in the NFL, and they did it with a running game that was really good and an offensive line that was good. Now, they lost Bill Callahan, and that was a huge loss. Their offensive line coach, one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. And they brought in Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator to bring in more of a spread
type offense and RPOs to try to highlight what Deshaun Watson did well and try to get him playing well. Since they signed him and brought him over, he just has not played well, and they've tried everything they could to try to get him to play well. Now he gets hurt again, and he's done for the year. And I really thought they would go back to what they did with Joe Flacco last year. I thought that would be the answer when Deshaun gets hurt. You bring Jameis Winston in, and you go back to what you did really well last year and how you got to the playoffs. But they made a decision this week to start or to allow Ken Dorsey to call the plays instead of Kevin Stefanski. So it'll be curious to see for me what that offense looks like. I think Jameis Winston functions better under center. So I figured they would get back to that, but that's really who Kevin Stefanski is at his core: under center, play action, running the ball effectively. Whereas Ken Dorsey likes to be in gun and likes to run the spread and the RPOs, which is not really what Jameis Winston does well.
Well, there is one thing that Jameis Winston does very well, and that's just toss the ball up, and we see who comes down with it. And I don't know, sometimes that works really well for him, and sometimes that works really well for a defense like the Ravens that needs to get right on Sunday.
Well, that was my thought going into it. I mean, you look at the Ravens, you say, where are their weaknesses? And it's been stopping the big plays in that secondary. And if you dive into it more, which I've done throughout the week, they get leads on teams. They certainly have the last 5 weeks, and then teams have to throw the ball a lot. So that artificially inflates those numbers, against the pass. And when you look at, like, the next-gen stats, they have the tightest coverage of any team in the NFL. They just weren't making those plays early on. And this last game, Humphrey gets 2 picks. They had 4 or 5 others that they could have intercepted as well. So they got hands on balls. But, they've had tight coverage, but teams have made those plays down the field. So, if you're Jameis Winston and you're not afraid to let that ball go, you're looking at trying to go down the field and try to make plays on that secondary that's been taking advantage of at times this year.
Jay, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your thoughts on how defenses can defend the Baltimore Ravens as currently constituted. Tell me about why it's so hard from your vantage point.
So if you go back before this year, the Ravens always were a very tough team. Obviously, Lamar is MVP last year, and he's so dynamic. He's been their leading rusher the last 5 years. But now when you add Derrick Henry, as soon as they signed him, there's a number of people I talked to in different organizations, and to a man, it was, why did we allow Derrick Henry to go to the Ravens with Lamar Jackson? Because it just creates such a problem, because you have to commit to Derrick Henry. You have to stop this man. It's so hard to stop him. He's going to run the ball. You know where he's going, and he runs through. He's got for 250 pounds, he's got such great lateral movement, and then the explosiveness down the field, the ability to get over 20 miles an hour, which he's done 4 times this year. So you have to commit as a defense to stopping him. But when Lamar can then put the ball in his belly and you're committing and then pull it out and go the other way, or pull it out and then throw the ball down the field, and you're still concerned with having to stop Lamar Jackson because he's so dynamic with the ball. He's got the second most runs over 10 yards in the NFL, and Derrick Henry's got the third. So it's such a tough ask for a defense. And then Lamar is throwing the ball down the field. It's the second year with Todd Monken, and they've done a better job of utilizing what he does well in the passing game. And he's throwing the ball well, and he's seeing it good. I mean, it's just such a difficult ask for this team. For any team going up against.
Sure. Jay Feely is with us here on GCR as we're getting ready for Ravens-Browns Sunday on CBS. He'll be on the call. Jay, so, with that in mind, obviously as good as the offense is, we talk about the defense. We see the rest of the AFC loading up. It's looking like an arms race right now in the AFC, particularly with them grabbing wide receivers. Do the Ravens need to be more active and say, hey, everybody else is doing everything they can to get better to push for the end of the year? Do they need to think about addressing edge rush or the secondary, or, as good as the offense is, maybe dipping their toes into the arms race and trying to add something else?
I think you could maybe, if there's a guy to go out and get to help on the edge, you could think about bringing a guy like Clowney back, who's sitting down there in Carolina, not really doing anything, and being, a guy that comes in for a few plays at a time and gives you some pass rush ability and obviously setting that edge. And if you could get somebody in the secondary that you think could help you and help shore up that secondary, but that's not really who the Ravens have been. That's not their DNA. They want to develop players and they want to believe in their own players. You sit there and you look at Kansas City and they're undefeated, and yet they've had issues at the receiving position, all the injuries, so they go out and they get DeAndre Hopkins. And the AFC is looking like Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati's coming on again. And, those teams that we've seen, the Texans, obviously, with C.J. Stroud and what they're doing. And so you kind of know, who you're going to have to stop and how you're going to have to stop them. And you got to look at yourself and say, is there a guy that we can go that we don't have to give up a ton for that can help us, try to break through and get to the Super Bowl? So that's what you're thinking about. It's all about winning the AFC Championship and getting to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, particularly given the struggles of the last few years. That is particularly important going into the season.
Jay, I wanted your opinion on just how much pressure will be on Lamar once these playoffs start, assuming he's healthy and the team, let's say they're 12-5 or 13-4 at the end of the season. Is this going to be an inordinate amount of pressure on him, or do you think it's like water off a duck's back?
No, I think there's two guys who have the most pressure in the NFL this year when it gets to the playoffs. It's going to be Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Because for both of those guys, it doesn't matter what they did in the season. It doesn't matter if they win MVP. All that matters is, can they get their team to the Super Bowl? And because Patrick Mahomes has been so good in the playoffs and the Chiefs have been so dominant in the AFC, it's put those two guys in the situation where it's Super Bowl or bust for them. And they know it as well. Both of those guys are not going to be happy with their season unless they get to the Super Bowl, even if they win an MVP. That is the standard. That's where they got to get. And so, sure, there's going to be a lot of pressure on both of those guys. And, to play well, and for Lamar in particular, can you play your best when you're in those games that matter the most in the division round or in the AFC Championship? And, the whole team has got to do it. It's not just one guy, but those two are going to shoulder the burden of that pressure, and that comes with the position. That's what the quarterback position is all about.
Jay, I wanted to get your thoughts before we let you go about the dynamic kickoff, which, to be clear, in talking to the number of players that I've talked to, I don't think that it's changing. I think
it's so dynamic.
It is dynamic, right? The players, and I think part of it is just not having to run down the field, which a few of them enjoy, and then not having to face a guy who's got a head full of steam running at them down the field. Just in talking to players, I don't think that there's any world in which they're going to fight for it to change. I feel like the fans, it's been a collective groan of it's just more of the same. I don't like the 30-yard line thing. Like, I really don't like that it's even easier for offenses, particularly late in games, after a team scores, you're already 5 yards closer to being in field goal range than you were before. But just your thoughts on it all in general. Has it added something to the league? How do they do this? And I don't know what a kicker thought would be, because I would think that a kicker would just say, I'm largely doing the same thing anyway.
Well, I think about it from an analyst standpoint and from an enjoyment standpoint of the game. I think they made a mistake when they didn't make the touchback actually the 35-yard line and make it further out, because then you would have had teams kick that ball inside the 10-yard line and make teams return it.
Yeah.
And try to get a stop. By having it at the 30, there's not much of a change right now. The average return is about out to the 30. And so a lot of teams just decided, we'll just kick them a touchback, like getting the ball at the 30. So I think if it was at the 35, then you'd have a lot more returns. The one thing it has done, which was the primary reason that they made the change, was to lower the incident rate of injuries. So that certainly has happened.
Right.
But from a fan perspective and an enjoyment perspective, you haven't really seen a big change. We haven't seen a big uptick in returns. It's up a little bit, but not dramatically. And we haven't seen a ton more big returns as well. So I'm still waiting for some special teams coordinators to be creative with it. I thought you'd see a lot of reverses, and I thought we might see some throwbacks and, some ways to take advantage, because you have put bigger guys on the kickoff coverage team because of where you are and how you're covering. And so if you can take advantage of that by having the speed guys and the ability to get them going one way and then hit them the other way, I think there's a big opportunity, and you just haven't seen that a lot yet. I'm kind of surprised, and I still expect to see that at some point in the season.
At Jay Feely is how you follow him on Twitter. And, of course, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Ravens-Browns on CBS, where he will be on the call. Jay, really appreciate you, man. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us this morning. And anytime you want to dunk on us that we were worried about Justin Tucker, please feel free to remind us.
I'm glad we didn't have to talk about Justin Tucker, the best kicker of all time. Missed a couple
Yeah.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks,
Jay.
Jay Feely with us here on GCR. Yeah, we called him a couple weeks back, and he was almost laughing. It's just like, guys, Justin Tucker.
It's Justin Tucker.
Come on, man. We're like, yeah, but he's 1 for 7 in his last 750-plus yard kicks. And he's like, right, I know.
Yeah.
He's Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
All right, Jay.
He's bounced back pretty well.
He's bounced back just fine. He's reminded everybody that, indeed, he is Justin Tucker. He is just fine.
I mean, you're talking about the spokesperson
for
Royal
Farms. That's correct.
Yeah.
And
that Justin Tucker.
You know what, though? I was about to say the greatest spokesperson in Royal Farms history, but it's neck and neck between he and Haloti. Like, it really. Haloti was so good as a spokesperson.
You don't think Joey Richard was?
Joey Ricard, obviously.
Joey Ricard.
Joey Ricard. He was fine.
Yeah.
And he had those dreamy eyes. And you'll always have that going.
Was Ricard?
Yeah.
Joey Rickard was Joey Rickard.
Oh, Rickard. Yeah, I said Ricard because now I'm.
Yeah, it's Rickard.
I knew Stan was wrong.
Oh, you meant.
But
I said Ricard.
Okay. You said Richard.
Richard.
Joey
Ricard.
It was Ricard.
Right.
Yes,
Ricard.
it was Ricard.
Right.
You're thinking of Pat.
Ricard. Yes,
okay.
It was Rickard. Was how you pronounce Joey's last name.
No, I love Pat, but Justin Tucker all the way.
It's not Pat. Pat's never been. Joey was the spokesperson for Royal Farms.
Patrick Ricard has not done Royal Farms?
No,
No,
he's done
he
other
does
things.
Pizza
Bowlies.
That's
yeah.
what it is. That's what it is. Okay.
Boy, what just happened here was like who's on first. What just happened here was one of the great. We all boofed.
Did you get that little insult? I know what Stan said was wrong.
Yeah, but I was wrong too. I was also wrong.
Well, God punished you.
Correct for calling you out.
Yeah.
Said, just leave it alone next time, fella. We all just boofed. Every single one of us just boofed in the span of.
I think I boofed the least, but yeah.
I don't know, pal.
I know Pat Ricard was a local spokesman.
What exactly about Pizza Bowlies and Royal Farms reminds you of one another?
All due respect to Pizza Bowlies. They're fine people.
And
they ain't Royal Farms.
And you can't get a press box. You can't get a press
sure
box.
As hell can't.
Pizza
Whereas
Bowlies.
if you go to your neighborhood Royal Farms, as I was about to say, you can get this new print issue of PressBox, which is available.
What an issue it is.
It's an outstanding issue. Great story from Brooks DuBose, all about the Baltimore-built duo of Derek Queen and Julian Reese, who have reunited. Former St. Francis teammates now playing together in College Park, trying to get Maryland basketball back to prominence. A lot of hype around Derek Queen, like somewhere in the 20 range of most NBA mock drafts going into next season. So big year for him and big year for Kevin Willard after a disappointing season last year, trying to right the ship for Maryland basketball. Go pick up that print issue right now. You can always read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. When we come back in, did you watch the football game last night?
No, I did not watch one moment of it.
Oh, boy. The ending of the football game, quite controversial. We'll discuss it. It ain't great. Stan's here, Glenn Clark Radio.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
PressBox's Project Game Day is the place to be after every game this season. Join Glenn Clark, Rita Hubbard, Super Bowl 35 champion Femi Ayanbadejo, and our cast of regulars as they break down what happened, why it mattered, and what it means moving forward. You can watch the show at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay or PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages. Project Game Day is brought to you by the Green Turtle Sportsbook in Towson and Canton, Easy Pass, and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. So join us for Project Game Day after every game day this football season at PressBoxOnline.com/GameDay.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Stan is here, and Stan, you every Monday, not just during the World Series, but on into the offseason, you're still going to be talking baseball.
Well, we're talking baseball this week and probably next week, and then we're going to take a few weeks off getting into the baseball winter meetings.
Okay.
Then we'll take a little bit of break and pick things back up probably in mid-January.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least the next 2 weeks.
Yep. Through the World Series.
Stan, Ross, and Luke talking baseball with you. Facebook.com/PressBoxSports is how you can watch it live. YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. So the Rams play the Vikings last night. The Rams get both Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, and sure enough, look like a completely different football team because of it, although additionally DeMarcus Robinson had 2 touchdowns last night. Go figure. I didn't remember to pull Puka Nacua off my IR in my one Puka Nacua league.
How did he do last night?
Oh, he was over
good.
100 yards very quickly.
They were very deliberately going after him.
Very, very disappointing that I did not get him.
Well, the good tweet I saw was that he's like, just so for everyone fantasy-wise out there,
oh,
just
yeah.
so you know.
If you play him, he's going to do nothing.
Yeah.
If you don't, he's going to go and 100%. I didn't, and he went off.
I've had that happen when you're desperate for pitching in baseball fantasy, and a guy comes back after he's been on the IL. You go, oh, I got him back.
Mm-hmm.
And you put him in immediately,
Yep.
and he
That's
1 1/3, 6 runs.
the way it goes.
Then you go. Then of course you go. Well, he's not ready. And then the next time he's like 7 innings,
Right.
2 hits, 8 strikeouts, and no runs. You know.
So last night, the Rams lead 28-20. Just under 2 minutes remaining. The Vikings get the ball back with a chance to go down and score. Now they're 95 yards away, but they got lots of time, 1 minute and 46 seconds. What they don't have is timeouts, but still plenty of time. We've watched the NFL enough to know minute and 46 is a lot, particularly when you have Justin Jefferson on your team. Plenty of time to go down and try to score. You get a 2-point conversion. You could tie the game up, force overtime, the whole thing. So very compelling football game for everybody watching. There's every reason to stay tuned through the end of the game. 2nd and 10 from their own 5-yard line. Do you have the? Can you pull that up?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You don't have to. I don't need audio. Just the video of it. 2nd and 10 from their own 5-yard line. Sam Darnold drops back. He's in the end zone, and
he's sacked.
Oh, man, that's a bummer. The game is over. He has been sacked in the end zone.
It's a safety, right?
It's a safety. That's Byron Young got him.
Yeah.
Well, that's weird because Byron Young doesn't really look like he's celebrating. You'd think that he'd probably want to
do a dance.
Celebrate a game-winning sack, the safety, and the game's over now. Like, what? Why isn't Byron Young celebrating? That's weird. Well, maybe they'll show a replay. Oh, because he committed one of the most blatant and obvious face masks you'll ever see in your life. All right. Well,
of course, it's under 2 minutes, so it's
right. Well,
it's
you
the
know,
video
and
booth.
now it'll be 1st and 10 from the 20, and
Right.
boy, they're in great shape.
Now they're in
right?
great shape.
Like, they still got minute and 40 seconds. All they got to do is go 80 yards. Like, they're in great shape. Where's the flag?
There's no flag.
Why? What the? Well, there's got to be an operation. You know how they do this now. Sometimes they say with replay, they don't even have to throw a flag. They don't have to. Somebody just says in their ear, "Hey, screwed this one up. All good. Go ahead and move him 15 yards and let's get on with the night."
So the replay assist, they can only pick up flags. They can't throw.
Well, it's only specific flags they can pick up. They could pick up like
roughing. They can pick up.
No, can't do it with roughing.
But under
No.
2
Can't do it with
minutes,
PI.
but under 2 minutes, there doesn't have to be a
doesn't
flag.
have to be a challenge.
Right.
Really, at any point during the game now, there doesn't have to be a challenge.
Right.
This replay assist could just buzz down and say, hey, by the way, that pass was actually incomplete.
Right.
Just go ahead. Nobody needs to throw a challenge flag.
Right.
We can tell you got it wrong. Replay
Right.
assist.
So why can't they do that with a face mask?
Because face mask is not reviewable.
Just cause?
Just for funsies. For funsies, face mask is not a reviewable penalty in any way. You can't challenge it. You
That's
can't.
horseshit. It
Yeah,
really
is it,
Yeah.
Stan?
It's like the.
Well, at least it didn't happen at the very end and determine or help determine the outcome of what was an otherwise great game
Right.
that everybody was watching. At least that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
At least we don't have to question the integrity of the games because you allowed a football game to end on a blatantly dreadful call that everyone on the planet can see. You don't even have to understand football to understand, I don't think you're supposed to do that. I don't think you're supposed to grab and twist at someone's face mask. Hey, but good news, I got to be honest with you, the officials took serious accountability afterwards.
Oh, they did?
And this is great news for the
Okay.
NFL because this is going to, I think, if you're a Vikings fan, I think you're probably sleeping well after you heard from Trey Blake, the lead official, who spoke to the PFWA pool reporter, Calvin Watkins, after the game. Question, on the Vikings' last offensive play, it looked as if the quarterback had his face mask pulled. Good for Calvin Watkins trying to, I don't know, it looked
like
kind of looked to me. I mean, I don't know how anybody else saw it, but to me, it kind of looked like there might have been a face mask pull. What did you guys see on that play? Because it could have been anything. Trey Blake, quote, well, on that play, the quarterback was facing the opposite direction from me, so I did not have a good look at it. I did not have a look, and I did not see the face mask being pulled, obviously. The umpire had players between him and the quarterback, so he did not get a good look at it. He was blocked out as well. So, that was the thing. We did not see it, so we couldn't call it. We couldn't see it.
That is just ridiculous. He's taking his headphones off, ladies and gentlemen. I've never seen this before.
I've done it before. What in the F is the point of having replay if you're just going to continue to get... I want to cuss so much right now. By the way,
No one's stopping you.
your nephew started texting me last night. We were doing a lot of cussing in response to this. And I don't even care about the teams involved at all. I don't care a lick about who won. Well, I mean, I guess in our picks contest I had Minnesota. But I assure you, I don't care. I had no actual American dollars on this game. I don't care who wins this football game. But it's so effing embarrassing for the biggest institution in America to not have any apparatus for the entire world sees that you effed up, and your response is shrug emoji. Sorry, guys. Nothing we can do. No, there's a lot you can do to make sure this doesn't, and it always goes back to the thing that we talked about from a few years ago, the Rams-Saints NFC Championship game that was the most embarrassing missed call in football history, but if it happens again this year, there ain't a damn thing they're going to do about it. That's what their lesson was learned from that game, was if it happens again, aw shucks. Just too bad. There's nothing we can do about it.
How was the outcome of the game impacted in terms of betting? What was the final score of the game?
Not, I guess. I mean, you
Well,
assume if
'cause it was a
the
three-
Vikings
it was a
score, they can go
3-point
for 2, they can tie it, you
and
go to
then
overtime, and then the line.
Minnesota was favored, correct?
Minnesota was favored by 3.
The game was in L.A.?
The game was in L.A., yes. So, yeah, like it to say it's specifically about betting, because that's immediately where everybody goes, is like, this is how you know the league is rigged. No, I think genuinely this is how you know that sometimes the officials F things up, and like they get things. What's worse is like the explanation is we didn't see it, and then everybody on the internet is pulling this one particular shot, screenshot
was the one I was showing.
from the play where you can see the official is directly behind the quarterback, and there's no way for you to miss. No bloody way for you to not see.
Maybe they had dinner reservations with Al Michaels. You know,
whatever,
so
yeah, right, because he doesn't eat vegetables. Whatever it is, this is the NFL is the accountable party here, because officials are going to get things wrong. Much like the Armando Galarraga thing for years ago. I don't remember who was the umpire.
Jim Joyce.
Jim Joyce. Thank you. I don't think Jim Joyce had it out for Armando Galarraga. I don't think that Jim Joyce. I think Jim Joyce just boofed the same way that we all just boofed Joey Rickard, like in the same manner that we all just did that. I think Jim Joyce just boofed a call. It happened. And, you know, he, in fairness to him, he took significant accountability for it. Immediately saw that he had screwed up and was extraordinarily apologetic and felt wretched about it. And it's been one of the great stories of modern sports history, of the relationship those two guys had and how Armando Galarraga showed that much class in the aftermath of it. And it's been great. But I don't think this was rigged or Jim Joyce wanted to make sure he ruined the moment. He boofed a call. It was right in front of him. In his brain, he anticipated the call. He thought that the runner was going to beat it, and he just got it wrong. And that happens. And the officials last night, whatever their brain, the one guy that had a view of it, his brain melted down in the moment and didn't notice it. But the league has to have, the same way that Major League Baseball said, we've got to put something into place so that this can never happen again. We have to make sure that we don't ever have this embarrassment to come upon us again. The NFL watched this years ago with the pass interference in the Rams-Saints game, overcompensated, said we're going to make every pass interference reviewable, and then all the officials said, yeah, but we're never going to overturn a pass interference call. We're just not going to do it. Sorry. You know, like, at your SOL, and then the league said, well, we tried. There's just nothing else we can do. We tried. Sorry, too bad. And this is the answer to this. The league's answer is you're going to watch the product, and we're going to give you a middle finger. And there's nothing you're going to do about it. You're going to tune in and watch on Sunday again, despite the fact that this is the way that it can go.
I mean, it's just so illogical.
It's unfathomable. Yeah. That everyone with a brain can see the same thing and say,
so that would if that was the Super Bowl.
If that was the Super Bowl, nothing would be done about it.
It's just quite wrong.
With the entire world watching. The entire world could watch and all see the exact same thing, and the NFL would say, oh, geez, golly, that was a heck of a Super Bowl, wasn't it, gang? Congratulations to the champs. embarrassing doesn't go far enough to describe it. It is a stain on the league that this type of thing can occur. And would the Vikings have won the game? I have no idea. They might not have gone down and scored. They might not have gotten the 2. They might have lost in overtime anyway. Who knows what might have happened? Imagine if it was like they were going for 2. They had already gone down the field.
Right.
They were going for 2, and
his head gets ripped off. Yeah.
Right. Like this, you can come up with some sort of like, well, I don't know. Imagine if it was even more blatant. Nothing we can do. Sorry, gang. Too bad. Real bummer. Game's over. See ya. Moose out front should have told you we're closed.
Next week.
Yeah, right.
See you
Like
next week.
that's it. That's your explanation, and there's nothing that you're going to do. I credit college football. We talked about the. Did you hear the story about the Ohio State-Oregon game? Did you happen to watch any?
I was watching that game.
So, are you familiar that Oregon purposely put 12 players on the field late in the game?
No, that's I heard it after the fact. Yeah.
So Oregon, there was a very specific situation where Ohio State was not quite in field goal range.
Right.
And Oregon had decided that 5 yards they would be happy to give up because that still wouldn't get them into field goal range. But they couldn't give up any more than that. So they purposely put a 12th defender on the field knowing they'd get a penalty for it. But what they couldn't have would be a 15-yard gain, they'd lose. So if they put one extra defender on the field, then Ohio State can't get 15 yards. And in the process of Will Howard scanning all over the field trying to find an open receiver, time's ticking off the clock. So by the time the play ends, without them getting – now the flag's out and they get the 5-yard penalty, Ohio State's down to 6 seconds left. It worked out brilliantly for Oregon. It was an incredible decision to manipulate a rule in favor. The NCAA, who gets nothing right ever, has never gotten anything right in the history of their organization, that week changed the rule. In the middle of the season, the NCAA got together and said, we're closing this loophole in the rule. If a team puts 12 guys on the field in a situation like that, then you're going to lose the 5 yards and the time's going to go back on the clock, so that no one will ever do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's against the spirit of the rule, right? Like, that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
You're supposed to have 11 players on the field.
Right.
The NCAA took immediate action. The NCAA, the worst organization in the history of sport. Maybe boxing has them. Like there's probably a competition between those two. They fixed the problem. The NFL, the most powerful organization in all of sports, their answer is, hey, what are we going to do? Guys, I mean, come on.
Got to give them time. Maybe they will
Come on.
change it.
Yeah, give them time.
Yeah.
That'll help. That'll
Maybe tomorrow or Sunday.
No,
they say.
it won't be. Maybe next year. Maybe next year it'll change, but it won't be during the season. That won't happen.
So we got to add another ref then, right? If even if 50,000 people saw it, but the 6 that mattered didn't. So we need a 7th.
But it doesn't matter how many refs are if the play's not reviewable, Griffin. The play's not reviewable.
Yeah, but
there
the
could be
7th guy
7.
maybe sees it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just
because there were 50,000
how-
and 6 people at the stadium.
You know how on
6 didn't
what's
see it.
America's Got Talent?
Yes.
They've got the super buzzer.
Okay.
You know, when you
They
can
need a
just go
They
beyond
need the super buzzer for the
pass the rule. You know, maybe each coach gets a super buzzer once a year.
Or we need 11 referees to watch.
You know, it's so funny you say that. Apparently, there was in like the XFL, there was like a super challenge. That something along the this was being discussed last night on
You get
Twitter.
bonus points for getting it
How
right.
about if the NFL called it the super duper challenge?
Yeah, something. Yeah, right. Because they
That-
won't
that
do
is what
anything.
they
They
will
won't do
do.
anything the XFL did. They can't just. They can't do that. They've got to come up with their own thing. But it apparently involved like situations where you could challenge something that wasn't reviewable or something like that. I don't know exactly what this was, but it's so funny you bring it up, Stan, because something like that popped up. You have it, Griffin?
So, I mean, I'm just looking at Reddit, people trying to explain it. But, yeah, and apparently in the UFL, there was
okay.
a super challenge. No regular challenges, a super challenge. And a super challenge you can use on anything. Penalties, calls, even if there should have been a penalty called.
Is it like once a game? Or
I don't know
once
how
in
many
your
they get.
coaching life?
This is I'm trying to pull it up.
Yeah.
Joel Klatt was talking about
You get one.
Every coach has one super challenge. Any call, anytime
get it
they
back
throw a
either,
challenge.
even.
Hey, I thought it was offside challenge. Hey, I thought that was a poor pass interference challenge. And now what you're doing is you're creating a system that officials can get back together. They can review it and they can all chime in. I don't know how often you're able to use it. That's and
looks
UFL's
like it's one
designed to
game.
give each coach one opportunity per game.
Yeah.
So even if you win, it's done. Yeah.
I mean, I guess the problem being, like, what?
You wait until the fourth.
What if there was another
Yeah.
blatant, face mask?
You get one.
It's the same problem. Like,
You're
but
going to
that's
use it in the fourth.
You
quarter.
might want to use that like in the
but
last
this
2
goes
minutes
back to
of
the
a game.
it goes back to the balls and strikes challenge thing.
Yeah.
Like that, you can say, hey, well, you had your challenge, you threw it away, but it's still embarrassing for the league.
Yeah.
The problem is the embarrassment on the league. It's a stain for the league that a game could end this
That's
way.
a good word for it.
Without
it is a stain.
anybody. That's why you take challenges out of the equation in the final 2 minutes, is because you don't want, while we all know and have the obligation to say, hey, the first minute of the game is as important as the final minute of the game is. They know that the thing that we're all going to talk about tomorrow is the final minute of the game. So it's why they have a different rule system for the final 2 minutes of the game. And yeah, maybe they say face mask won't be reviewable for 58 minutes of the game. But in the final two, we're going to have to make it reviewable. Because I get the argument of you can't have everything be reviewed on every play. The games are going to take 5 hours. One, I don't know if they've been paying attention. People seem pretty inclined. We all woke up at 9:30 in the morning to watch the two worst teams in the NFL play on Sunday morning.
You know who we get in Germany in a couple weeks?
But
two bad teams again.
And guess what we're doing?
Who's playing?
It's the
Giants Panthers.
Yeah, Giants and Panthers.
Oh, that's a great game. But I'm just trying to think of the logic of why something so blatant, a face mask, is always pretty darn blatant.
Yeah.
And the reason the rule is called is because of the nature of hurting
safety.
somebody.
Correct.
Safety.
Correct. You'd think you.
So it's okay on the last play of the game to get a guy and break his neck.
Yep. As long as if you get away with it, you get away with it. Let's just see. Maybe you'll get away with it. And that, by the way, Byron Young will be fined for that. He will receive a $10,000 fine for winning the game. He will receive a $10,000 fine.
Might keep Cooper Kupp
for
around
the
for the rest
play
of the
that won the game. Damnedest thing. All right, Griffin, tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland.
Every time that Baltimore's football team or Washington's football team score touchdowns during home games this season, Live Rewards members get $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine that is on the floor. You have to be actively playing as well in order to get your prize. But once those touchdowns score, and Baltimore and Washington, they scored a lot of touchdowns this season. So make sure you are out there during their home games. You get $7 in free slot play when those touchdowns are scored at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And as we said, Commanders at home this Sunday, and it's after the Baltimore game, so maybe you go watch the game in Sports and Social, and then afterwards you can go play some slots while the Washington game's going on and get some free slot play. It seems like a pretty good way to spend your day on Sunday.
Is that thing happening at the Live Casino this week?
Every
Every home.
I haven't heard it today though until
He just said it. He just said it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry. I can call you every day, Stan, and remind you.
Please,
Get a
please.
personal update if you don't mind. All right, give me your breakdown, your thumbnail. World Series gets underway tonight.
My thumbnail is, and I know you've told me you just haven't gotten.
I have no juice for it.
Yeah.
None. Zero.
I think nationally right now, we have an election that is
sucking the life out of the sucking the air out of the room.
Sucking the air out of the entire country. So I wouldn't expect there to be at the outset of it this tremendous amount of excitement. But I think there's two compelling teams. I did this year, in spite of jinxing the Orioles by, again, for the second straight year, picking them to easily defeat the 12th team out of the playoffs. Last year it was Texas. I said the Orioles would beat Texas rather easily. This year I thought they'd beat Kansas City.
Next year, we will not be allowing you to preview the
No,
playoffs.
I'm just
gonna.
I'm
we're gonna
just not
ban
gonna.
you.
I'm banned from picking the last place, last place projected
Sure.
team. So I'll make sure it's a National League team next year.
Thank you.
The 12th
Thank you.
team, okay.
Appreciate that.
End of that controversy.
Yeah, right.
And then they beat the
I
Orioles
did
in
have
this.
the Dodgers. I did have the Dodgers at number 1 going into the postseason. So I feel good about that. It's interesting. I don't know why I didn't take the Yankees number 2, because obviously the Dodgers can only play one team in the World Series. But I thought San Diego and Philadelphia had better chances than the Yankees to win the World Series. But I do have the top AL team and top NL team in my World Series. I like the Dodgers in this series because, A, I don't think that Garrett Cole, and if I'm wrong on this, all bets are off. I don't think he's pitching at a particularly elite level right now. And I think that, that's a huge key factor there, because Rodon can pitch 4 2/3 brilliant baseball, strike out 7 or 8 batters, and then just like you snap your fingers. I want to make sure people hear
there you
that.
go. That's important.
Yeah.
Yep.
It just all of a sudden it's all gone. He's like drained his battery or his gas tank, and he's no longer super. Luis Gil is a total wild card for me at this point. He was an early season sensation for the first 2.5 months till the Orioles kind of pounded him to death at Yankee
Really
Stadium. Never been really the same pitcher since then. And as I said to Jerry Hairston, good news to me hearing that Freddie Freeman's going to play, because I didn't think he'd play at least the first 2 or 3 games of the series. The fact that he's going to be a full go and maybe healthy enough to really be able to hit a little bit, I think is a big factor for them. It lengthens their lineup. But to me, and I wrote this in my column, Glenn, that I think that Andrew Freeman and General Manager Brandon Gomes did really just a so-so job at building that pitching staff this year, knowing that Kershaw was a total wing and a prayer this year, knowing that Buehler might not be really ready. I think Buehler's an interesting guy to me to project like the Orioles signing next year. Thinking that you're going to get something better out of him
then
his second year back. But having said that, out of necessity, they created this bullpen that is just, to me, it's just one arm after the other. Yep. It's Kopech, it's Evan Phillips, it's Vesia, it's Brusdar Graterol, and I'm leaving a couple guys out. It's just one guy after another that can really dominate. And I think, again, if they had started 2 days after or a day after the playoffs, the World Series, 4 days off gives that bullpen
a lot of time to reset. Right.
Reset, and then he can use them to death over the first weekend, and he's got another off day. Then he can use them a little bit more judiciously over 3 games, and maybe get one long start out of Flaherty.
And you've seen that Dave Roberts, to his credit, has been willing to say, we're probably not winning this game.
Yeah, I'll burn this.
Correct.
I'll burn this guy.
Like, he's had he's been criticized over that a little bit, but it has been a clear strategy of when it looks bleak, we're not chasing everybody because we need all of our arms, and we'll use this as a reset day to come back tomorrow and have all of our arms available to us. And that has been very beneficial for him in these playoffs. Real quick, Garrett Cole, 3 starts in the playoffs so far. 1 was good.
Yeah.
The game 4 against the Royals, he allowed 1 run, 6 base runners over 7 innings. The first start against the Royals, and they did win all 3 games. Jerry Hairston was right about this. They did win all 3 games. First start against the Royals, 9 base runners over 5 innings, 4 runs. And then against the Guardians in Game 2, 4 1/3, just 2 earned runs, but 10 base runners over 4 1/3. So.
Yeah, and Jerry Hairston pointed out, rightly so, that the Dodgers are a team that really makes you work hard. And what you find with Garrett Cole 2024 is he seems to get his pitch count up after four-plus innings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not where Garrett Cole 3 years ago would have been, you know.
So the other thing, and I asked this to Jerry, and I think it's a real storyline coming out of these, I am more and more convinced that as much as people might...
That it was a face masking call
yes,
last
I'm
night?
very convinced of that. And Jerry was right to bring that up, and I appreciate that. I think that baseball has accepted that there is a tax when it comes to facing a batter for the third time, and I am more and more convinced that it is going to be extraordinarily rare moving forward throughout the future of the game that in the postseason we see starting pitchers come back around to face a batter for the third time.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you.
I think they have accepted that, and that is just the reality of it.
Which makes some of the stuff that Koufax did in the postseason just
sure.
Great. I mean, when he pitched on 2 days rest,
right,
in the '65 World Series,
it's nuts. It's nuts. I think that this has now become standard operating procedure moving forward. That it's just accepted fact that you don't want your starter to face anyone for a third time, and unless there's an extraordinary circumstance, you're not going to be doing it.
And I think we're seeing it more and more in the regular season.
Yeah. But
because you've got the ability to immediately send somebody out
correct.
the next night. That's why options are so important.
I guess I would say I think there's going to be more of an inclination like, hey, let's at least give the guy a shot to go out there, because if we can get 7 innings out of someone tonight, that could be helpful for us. Whereas in the postseason, there is no – I just don't think you're going to see it. I just think it's over. This third time through the order thing. I think it has become accepted fact throughout the sport that that's the way it's going to go. And I don't know that means full-on bullpenning, and I brought that up. And, look, the Tigers are doing a lot of that. But it's just whether that means whether it gets 6 innings or whether it's 4 innings, if that's the moment when the order's coming back up. And we saw that in Game 2, obviously, with the Orioles, where despite the fact that Zach Eflin – was in no danger whatsoever, was in no trouble with the season at stake, Brandon Hyde's answer was he's not facing the order again. We're just not doing it because we think there's a tax that comes along with that, and we're not going to deal with it. You do believe the Dodgers are winning the World Series?
I do. I think the Yankees, if Cole pitches at a very high level, it evens it out a great deal for me. You know.
Yeah, sure. That is a great equalizer. There's no question about it.
And I think this Vezina coming back is huge because of what Jerry Hairston alluded to with being able to use him against Soto. You know.
Sure, who's obviously that's nuts. That guy is nuts. But he's going to be an Oriole next year, so we won't have to worry about that anymore. The Orioles will give him.
Yeah, it looks like when you go to Google now, there's all these really informative stories, and it looks like it's a lock that Max Fried's going to be an Oriole.
Hell yeah, baby. Hell yeah. Max Fried and Juan Soto. Wow.
It's just unbelievable.
Well, David Rubenstein said he wants to win, He's
75 years old.
Doesn't have all the time in the world. Love it. Can't wait to see it. All right, very good. And again, Stan Ross and Luke talking baseball on Monday. We'll update after the first 2 games of the World Series ahead of Game 3. What time on Monday?
Roughly 5.
About 5 o'clock.
About 5
Leading
o'clock.
into Game 3 of the World Series at Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We are going to get you, before we get out of here today, segment number 3 of the Arthur Maulet Show from this week. I got to say, we're still TBD on the next date for the Arthur Maulet Show. That Thursday night game week is just kind of screwing us up a little bit, so we're probably going to move it back to the following week.
And weren't you supposed to do a show the night before the election?
Yes, we were.
I was not going to do a. Jen asked me not to do a Monday show,
I
but
think
now we're doing
we've decided that we're going to push that back because I just never know what time these guys. This happened this week where they played a Monday night game.
Did Obama cancel?
No, I don't think it was supposed to be Obama. But this week there was, they were supposed to have.
It was Kamala.
Yeah,
was coming.
It was going to be a good get. Yeah. Really, it's going to be good timing.
Amazing.
Really good timing.
Night before the election.
Wouldn't you believe it?
Your audience.
So we will give you more details. We're working through all of this with the various parties. PressBoxOnline.com/Maulet will still show the next show is being November 4th. I can tell you the next show will not be November 4th. It will likely be November 12th at a location to be announced. We are putting the final touches on that. I don't think we'll have an announcement
Graham's
today.
bedroom?
No, although
Might be a good.
it'd be kind of a fun, right? Like, what a neat way. We could do it in the barn. I could go out to the barn and do a show. I'm not opposed to that. But we'll get those details to you. Appreciate your patience. And as always, PressBoxOnline.com/Maulet. If you miss a show, you can go check it out there. It is brought to you by Easy Pass and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org.
Was it Jimmy Kimmel that did that, or was it somebody did a show they picked these random people, or was it James Corden? They just knocked on their door.
I'll try to
and they said, "Can we come in and do a show in here?"
Hey, man.
And they found somebody that did it. It was very cool.
I think it's a great idea, honestly. Yeah. I think it's a tremendous idea. I think we have other locations that might even be better ideas, believe it or not.
You think you could monetize it better than Graham's bedroom?
I think perhaps there might be a little bit more.
Looks like it was James Corden.
There you go. There you go.
It was really
big
very
hit for Stan.
I love it. I love it. We'll come back in. Kurt Warner will join us. We'll talk more about Lamar Jackson when we come back in. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, Brooks Dubois profiles Maryland basketball forwards Derek Queen and Julian Reese as the Baltimore-built duo reunites in College Park with hopes of bringing the Terps back to prominence. Also inside, meet college basketball players from all of the area's D1 programs. PressBox is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores, where you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR. Stan, I know you've got another show to do today, so I think you're gonna duck out a little bit early today.
I'm gonna do that.
I appreciate that.
I'm gonna get something to eat, do my prep work.
There you go.
Be ready for Terry Hazeltine drawing a crowd, the business of sports tourism in Maryland.
There you go. At Stan the Fan on Twitter is always how you can follow him. Monday Talking Baseball. Appreciate you, sir. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us.
Always,
again.
always.
Had to do this a little bit earlier on because of his very busy schedule, but an opportunity to catch up with the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, who has some really interesting things. He did a video this week about Lamar Jackson for QB Confidential, and we talk more about it here on GCR. Well, it is always a pleasure to welcome in our next guest. You, of course, know him as the Hall of Famer, and I think a lot of you really enjoyed a certain video that he did this week about one Lamar Jackson. He is the great Kurt Warner, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Kurt, it's Glenn. It's always great to chat with you. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
Yeah, no problem. Always good to be on.
Man, I was really excited about this particular QB Confidential, and you acknowledged that, like, you know, I think the words you used were tough love that you've used with Lamar over the years, who, you know, you've never suggested wasn't a great quarterback. But I know that you always thought there was another level to his game. Do you feel like we are now starting to see that other level to Lamar's game?
Without a doubt. And it's not even so much seeing the next level. I think we've seen that level, you know, in bits and pieces, you know, over the last few years. I think we're starting to see it at a consistency level that's different than what we had seen before. And that was really what, you know, kind of I said in my video, and what I've always believed is that I've seen moments that make me believe, okay, if you can have moments, if you can have games like this, then you have to have the ability to do this all the time, or at least I think you do, you know, because you always have kind of those two sides of it, is that there's some guys that you'll find that will have great games and sometimes even great seasons. But you know, when you watch the film and you go, okay, why did you do it in that game, but you didn't do it in this game and this game? And you start to wonder, okay, are they falling into some of this success as opposed to seeing it, knowing it, understanding why they're doing it and doing the same things consistently so they have consistent success doing it? And so, you know, we saw glimpses of that from Lamar Jackson. And so I think my hope was always that it wasn't just falling into it, that's in there, and he just had to kind of grow and get more comfortable, you know, being a, you know, more of a pocket passer than just an athlete all the time. And, you know, even in the video I showed a couple times where, you know, things broke down, and I think in the past he probably takes off. You know, he probably tries to create instead of staying in the pocket, settling back in, and then making a play inside the pocket and not panicking in those situations. So you're seeing all kinds of growth to me with Lamar Jackson, who's always been good, but now he's elevated himself to great, but not just great in moments, consistent greatness. And that's what excites you about Lamar, because I just think there's only a handful of guys that can do it. And so when I saw glimpses of that from Lamar, along with, you know, what we all know is rare athletic ability, rare physical ability, you think, okay, if he can do this consistently, he's got a chance to be one of the best ever, not just, you know, the best now, or not just the best season here or there, one of the best ever if you can put all of that together, because he is so rarely gifted physically on top of it. And so that's what excites me. And that's what I'm always looking for from quarterbacks. Even if you don't have Lamar's unbelievable physical abilities, I still look for that from every other quarterback. You know, the Jared Goffs. I'm actually watching some Jared Goff right now, and he doesn't have that physical upside of a Lamar Jackson. But what he's doing is he's consistently playing well in the pocket at the quarterback position. And you play consistently well, and your team has a chance, and your team can compete for championships. And that's what it's all about. And so it's fun to see Lamar kind of elevating into, you know, this stratosphere. And now it's about, well, we've seen it. We've seen it for a number of games. We've seen it for a couple seasons. If he can be this for the rest of his career, because I've said that about Patrick Mahomes, is like Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to get better. Now, you know, it'd be awesome and amazing for all of us to see him get better.
Yeah, maybe for some people, not for us in Baltimore.
Yeah, there you go. But if he just plays like he has, you know, this point up to this point in his career, the rest of his career, he will probably go down as the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. Yeah. And now it's at that point with Lamar Jackson of saying, yeah, I'd love to see you get better. But if you can play at this level for the rest of your career or for another decade, I mean, unbelievable. It will be, you know, an incredible, you know, career to watch. And that's what starts to excite you about, you know, who Lamar is and and what he's able to do in all the different facets of playing quarterback.
Kurt, unquestionably, the presence of Derrick Henry has added an element to making the Ravens offense indefensible and has aided Lamar Jackson the way that it would aid any quarterback, right? That said, even some of the plays that you pointed out from Monday were during stretches where Derrick Henry wasn't even on the field. In the Cincinnati game a couple weeks ago, the Ravens kind of had to get away from the run game and from Derrick Henry because they fell behind by a couple of scores. Are the things that you're seeing about Lamar, do they go beyond just how indefensible it is to have he and Derrick Henry in the same backfield?
Well, yeah, because it's not just, when I break stuff down and when I talk about quarterback play, I don't look at it as if, okay, we run a play action and a guy's open by 15 yards and
Right.
you throw it and complete it to him. I'm not sitting here going, oh, wow. I expect every quarterback in the NFL to do that. When we're running a two-man route, I expect them to be able to pick a side and throw it to one of the guys if the guy's open. Like, that stuff is easy, and that's stuff that all NFL quarterbacks should do. When I talk about quarterback play, it's about seeing and reading, understanding what you're looking at defensively and then being able to react accordingly and then make the throws that go with it. So a big part of what I watch is eyes. Where do the eyes start? Where are they progressing? What are you looking at? If you're looking at the right thing, are you making the right read, off of the movement of the defender, those kinds of things. And that's where I'm seeing more consistency from Lamar, is getting his eyes in the right spot, recognizing things, even I think, better pre-snap. Some of the pressures and things, I know he's talked about that recently. I still think an area he can improve. If there's one area that he could improve, it's, kind of seeing the pressure and understanding how to beat it and how to get it out of his hands a little bit quicker instead of, like I showed in the video. Yeah, he's still got the ability to run around that defender that's free and make a 40-yard throw. But I'd like for him not to have to depend on that. To see it, boom, ball's out of his hands. He recognizes it. Now he's letting his playmakers make plays. And now people go, oh, my gosh, what do we do to this guy? How do we stop this guy? So that's what I'm looking at more than anything, is the eyes. And I think his eyes have gotten better, and then you're starting to see the other side of it, like the 2 touch passes that he had in this video or the game on Monday night. Just beautiful throws of understanding, like, the defense did just about everything right on the first one, and they still couldn't stop it because he understood how to throw it, and he has the ability to throw it that way. Not everybody has that. Some people can go, I can't drive this throw, but I also can't make the other throw. He's showing us that he's got the ability to see it, understand it, and make the different kinds of throws that he needs. And again, that's kind of where, when Patrick Mahomes separates himself, those are the kind of things that Patrick Mahomes can do. It's becoming a passer, understanding how to pass the football and change trajectories and change speeds, instead of just being a thrower where, hey, I can throw it from A to B. It's understanding those other pieces as well.
He is the great Kurt Warner, and we're going to link up his QB Confidential on our Twitter account, @GlennClarkRadio. We'll retweet it if you guys haven't found it. And obviously, you should probably be subscribed to Kurt. And I know most of you are, because you react all of the time that Kurt is doing Lamar Jackson content. Kurt, I wonder, I'm glad you brought up the 1-touch pass, because I got to be honest with you, when he released it, I thought it was right to the defense. I couldn't believe how perfectly that ball was placed. But the other thing that I think has been fair over the years has been, it's unfair to say that Lamar can't throw a deep ball. He absolutely can. But I did think that it was always fair criticism that particularly the deep outside the numbers throws weren't his strength. We've seen a few now, like the one obviously to Rashad Bateman on Monday night was spectacular. And I get it. Like, Bateman had some separation there. He could have missed that throw by a little bit and it still would have been better. Have you seen serious gains in throws deeper outside the number?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you realize when you're talking about throws like that is I think certain guys have to learn how to harness their right arm. And so guys that have bigger, stronger arms, they try to get away with more with their arm. But normally it's really hard to harness that. So a lot of times when you see kind of big levered, strong armed guys, they struggle with accuracy because the ball just kind of shoots out of their hands. And so they struggle with that. Guys that have, these big, strong arms often can struggle with deep balls because, they're throwing it too flat and too far, and it makes you almost have to be perfect with the throw. You've heard people talk about it that, Russell Wilson maybe has the best deep ball or has throughout his career in the National Football League.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it the moon ball, right? The ability to put the ball up in the air, let it turn over, and allow their receiver to be able to react to the football. And so it increases your margin of error because when you throw it flat and hard, you have to be perfect. Like there is no adjustment being made. It's either got to be perfect or you miss. And, so Lamar had some of those issues with that big arm of his. And, sometimes his technique with his feet could get away from him. And thus it falls even more on the arm. So you're trying to throw it far and perfect with your arm, which is a hard combination. When you engage your lower body and allow the power to come from there, and so you can allow the ball to just kind of, come out of your hand and go up in the air and be kind of, kind of soft when it's out there, kind of hangs in the air. And so your guys can go get it, kind of like the one you talked about on Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
That allows your receivers to react to it. That increases your margin of error and allows you to be more successful on those kind of passes. And so just like we saw the touch pass on the 12-yard out, I think you're seeing more touch, what I would term as touch, on his deep balls as well, which allows for those guys to adjust, to change their course a little bit. If the ball's a little bit off, to reach back and get it, or to turn on the jets and go chase it down because they can see it and they know where it's going. And so, yeah, I think those are all areas that he's gotten more and more comfortable with and gotten better with. And again, it's creating this complete quarterback that's so much fun for all of us to watch.
And yeah, and as you pointed out, obviously there's still the ability when things, if it all breaks down, he can still be Lamar Jackson and take off and run, which just makes it so scary. I brought up the word indefensible earlier, Kurt. Like I really am in a place where it is hard for me to fathom what the answers are going to be for opposing defenses. And I'm not trying to pretend like the Ravens pass catchers are, even Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt, right? Like but I just look at this group and I don't know, what do defenses do to even attempt to slow down? It's the thing we all talked about. You stuff the box, Lamar's going to burn you. You don't stuff the box, Derrick Henry's going to, like, what do you do against this offense right now?
I mean, it's hard, because not only is it Derrick Henry, it's also, the changeup of that where now they're doing a lot of run plays where Lamar has a lead blocker on the backside. So it's committing extra guys, not only to stop Derrick Henry, but to have that extra guy because you're running your quarterback more in Lamar Jackson. So you've got to commit guys there. And then it's being able to, kind of to be on your toes, meaning, being ready to attack the line of scrimmage. And then you throw the play action where you're coming up and all of a sudden there's guys open behind you because there's this huge cavity between, where the linebackers are stepping up and the second level of the guys down the field. And so I just think there's a lot of elements to what the Ravens are capable of doing. And I definitely think they've got guys on the outside that can be successful. I think Zay Flowers, his explosiveness, his quickness, he can win in one-on-one situations at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I think his two tight ends are really, really good, have a really good feel for the game as well. We see Bateman kind of coming into his own a little bit. I'm not sure what he is as a complete receiver yet, but I think he's a complementary piece when you have three other really good pieces in which you can play with. And so, again, I don't know if, it's a great receiving core, on the outside from, just a standpoint of man-to-man. And if you stack them up against, some of the explosive groups we have out there, but with what they do and with kind of the feel that those guys have, because I think that's where they're maybe even better than, are they the top end talent at their position? I don't know. You can debate that, but I think they all have a great feel, and especially the two tight ends and Zay Flowers have a really good feel for the game. And so does Lamar right now. And so they work really, really well together from that standpoint. And so I think they've got a lot of things going in their favor. They've got a lot of multiple things that they can do. Run downhill with Derrick Henry, run with Lamar Jackson, play with two tight ends on the field and a fullback if they want to. Spread it out. They can spread out those tight ends so they can create mismatches in that. So I just think they have a lot of versatility with their, with their personnel as well. And they're really starting to get a feel for how they want to play the game. Coach Monken doing a great job. I talked to him, week one when they were playing the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And, he was kind of letting me know, like, hey, it's still a process. We're still trying to figure out, how do we get Derrick Henry at his best? How do we get Lamar at his best? Do we put Lamar more under center? Do we go with more of the pistol? Do we go sideways with Derrick, even though that's not his favorite, but it plays to Lamar? Like, he was just like, it's a process. We're trying to figure ourselves out. And you kind of seen that as they've gotten better and as they've gotten more comfortable and as they've figured out how they can use these guys, we're seeing the best of, those two really, really great players. And then that's only helping all those other really good players they have.
Kurt, just if I could, last one. We've seen all these other AFC teams load up and go out and get wide receivers. And so I don't even know who would be on I guess Cooper Kupp would still be on the board. There's this argument that I hear when people suggest the Ravens should be in the mix for another receiver. They say, hey, it's working. Don't mess with it. And then I'll hear my partner, Femi Adebayo, Super Bowl champion, will tell me, like, no, dude, if bringing in a good player is what hurts your offense, you've got bigger problems. There's no way that can be a bad thing. Where are you with, hey, this is working, don't mess with it, versus, hey, this is an arms race right now in the AFC. If you want to beat these teams, you might have to add even more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one that always is like, more talent is, usually going to be better. So if you can find talent, you could get it, you get it. But I'm also very cautious of, like, if we're going to do that, with where we are as a team right now, does that person fit, or do we have to try to find a fit for them? So if you feel like what you're doing right now is kind of the best version of what you can be offensively, I'm going to look for pieces that I think fit there. Do I need a speed guy on the outside, to really help us? Okay, maybe that adds something to us because it's not really changing what we do. Do I need a Cooper Kupp? Because now Cooper Kupp kind of does what Zay Flowers does. Can we use both of those guys at the same time? Are we as effective, or now do we have to take something away from one of them, or does that change how we do it? Because we got really good inside guys. So I think those things are important to ask. Like, not just every good piece means, okay, it's going to make us better, even though, I do believe you can fit really good pieces into about any offense. But I think they're in good shape with their internal, pass catchers. And I think if you're adding somebody, I would try to add somebody more on the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
Again, I know Amari Cooper went to Buffalo, but
yeah,
like that would have been a trade guy that I go, oh, this guy makes us better. Like, this guy solidifies us on the outside, that now we've got the inside guys. Now we got the run game. Now we got the quarterback. Now I'm feeling really good, as opposed to, for instance, hey, let's go get another tight end who's really good. And you're like, well, why? Like, I know we play with two tight ends a lot, but I like what we have there. And I wouldn't want to try to mess with, that chemistry, so to speak.
Kurt, between QB Confidential, First Things First, the Treasure House, you do so many wonderful things. Anything that we can plug for you, man?
We got some great stuff going on. We've got, our coat drive going on in St. Louis with First Things First. So if you want to look into that, make a donation, whatever, kurtwarner.org. We got a fundraiser coming up here for Treasure House. Our Champions Game Night that's coming up a week from tomorrow. So again, if you're in this area and want to come out, it's a great event. Otherwise, we're always open for donations there to check out what we're doing at treasurehouse.org. And then, like you said, the QB Confidential stuff, I've got it, all over. It's on my YouTube page for those coaches and quarterbacks out there. I created my own teaching website. It's quarterbackconfidential.com, QBconfidential.com. And that's more of a teaching-based website that I've done that kind of, is a part of, these videos kind of supplement, the deep dive that I do into teaching the game in there. So, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of fun stuff going on. And, any help and any interest and support in any of those things is incredibly appreciated.
Kurt, grateful for the human being that you are, always grateful for the time that you take for us. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it.
You got it. We'll talk to you down the road.
That's Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer, of course, NFL Network. And, it's great stuff as he breaks down Lamar Jackson from the game against the Buccaneers. And we did retweet his QB Confidential video all about that performance for you to check out. I don't think Cooper Kupp's getting traded. I think 3-4 and the way they played last night makes that really difficult. Like, if they lose last night and, finance, I think it's a really difficult pill to maybe. How many games do they still have between now and the deadline? 2? Do they still have 2, or they just have 1 now? Yeah, just 1. So at worst, they could be 3-5. That's a really hard. That's a hard sell. Right, to come back for the offense to look that good with those 2 dudes on the field, and then to try to trade him in, I don't think that's happening. I mean, could you imagine?
So it doesn't seem like there's anybody really else out there.
I'm trying to think of who else. I mean, like, people have brought up Calvin Ridley since they dealt DeAndre Hopkins, but I haven't really dove into his contract. I don't know how realistic it is. By the way, the Rams are at the Seahawks next week. Calvin Ridley. Let's take a look-see. Calvin Ridley. Next year, 2025, cap hit $28 million, dead cap $37 million. I mean, you'd have to overpay for Calvin Ridley for the Titans to take that on. And do you really want to overpay for Calvin Ridley?
And is he a guy that's going to, be consistently, I guess he would be consistently playing on the outside, so you could be a natural
30.
fit. Yeah. He's 30 already?
He's 30.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
right?
blows my mind.
I remember he missed the entire season.
Yeah. And there's really nobody else. It's Cooper Kupp or maybe they want to move Puka.
They're not moving if they.
Maybe it's a full fire sale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe that's.
They're going to go complete. They
I'm
were
trying to think of
trading all their first round picks.
Are there other bad teams that we're not thinking about? Are there other?
I mean, it's like what Deontay
I guess
Johnson.
Jerry Jeudy would have to be in consideration, but the Browns probably still wouldn't even trade. I don't know. I have to look at his situation to see if the Browns would be willing to trade in division on that. The Jaguars probably wouldn't move anyone. I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe get back to me after this week. But I don't think they'd
Christian Kirk's deal.
But maybe that's a
Devin Duvernay.
What's that?
Devin Duvernay's.
Devin Duvernay, yeah, that could be
not using him.
I know that Cortland Sutton's name had floated out there a couple weeks ago, but the Broncos are too good. Now somebody would joke, right? But with that, Cortland Sutton's not doing anything.
They're not even targeting him,
right? So none of the Patriots receivers are any good. Who would you even want from New England? So, I don't even know who the what's that?
Jalen Polk. He'd be the
yeah, sure. They'll move Jalen Polk. That would be the receiver they would look to move as the guy on the favorable contract. That makes sense. So I don't think it's going to be receiver. I don't think that's going to be the case. All right, good stuff from Kurt Warner. Today's show also brought to you by County Sports Zone. Countysports.zone is the website for you to find out everything there is to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland, public schools, private schools, every sport, every season, scores, schedules, the whole deal. They've got you covered. Countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. We come back in, we'll get a tidbit, we'll get tubular, and then segment number 3 of the Arthur Maulet Show. That's on the way. Glenn Clark Radio. Brace yourselves for an unparalleled in-person betting experience at the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbook and Bars in Canton and Towson. Experience the thrill of live betting with Baltimore's only state-of-the-art Vegas viewing TV experience. Choose between our on-site tellers or the convenience of our self-bet kiosks to place your bets. Gather your betting buddies and head over to the Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks today. Green Turtle Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton. The ultimate destination for game day excitement, great food, and live in-person betting. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Go to mdgamblinghelp.org.
Hey Baltimore, it's number 10, Arthur Maulet, and I'm hoping you'll slot us in all season long for the Arthur Maulet Show. We will be traveling around the region all season, giving you the chance to get to know me and my teammates. There will be some football talk and a lot more. You can watch this show live on PressBox's Facebook and YouTube pages and listen every Friday night on 105.7 The Fan. Find out more at PressBoxOnline.com/Maulet. The Arthur Maulet Show, the only show in town that's a work of art.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR, Friday edition of the program, winding down for the week. Let me go ahead and get a tidbit, shall we?
This one will come from the Maryland football Twitter account, at Terps Football. Billy Edwards has joined some pretty elusive company. Big Ten. He is the second Big Ten quarterback.
I mean, illustrious company.
What did I say?
Elusive. I don't know how they would be elusive.
Could both be. Well,
I
mean,
don't
just
think
because
elusive works.
Because he's only the second guy since 1996 to do this.
Okay, that's still. All right, go ahead.
It's an elusive, it's a hard list to get on.
It's a hard list to make. I could listen to it, but that's not the way you said it. The company itself is not elusive.
Well, it's
unless there's something about the other.
Is
the other person
it's
on
not
the,
been easy to join the company.
No. You're saying two different things. You're trying to make an argument for what you said instead of recognizing that.
I don't think I messed up though.
You did.
It's hard to get on this list.
So if you said the list, it's an elusive list to make. But the company itself is not elusive.
Would you not include someone who is on the list part of that, part of being company of the list?
You're saying two different things. What you said,
company and being on the list is different than
the company
are two
itself.
different things?
Yes, the company itself is.
I didn't know that. All right, thank you.
Unless there's something about the person that he joined that's very. This is an elusive person. This is someone who we can't track down.
Because there's only two guys that have done this since
I understand
1996.
that. You're saying something else though.
You know what? Forget it.
Yeah.
Let's just do two. It's not even worth it at this point. You've ruined it.
I've ruined it.
Yeah, you ruined it.
It's on me.
Yeah.
Instead
Everyone was really
saying,
excited. This is everyone's favorite part of the show.
Somebody saying like, maybe you're right about this one.
It's a tough list to get on.
That part correct.
Because there's only two guys to ever be on it.
Okay, go ahead.
I shouldn't say ever. Since 1996.
Go ahead.
Although this is Big Ten football record, so who knows? Honestly.
It's true. They think that someone's the all-time leading passer. But boy, they really are salty about that at Maryland. That I won't just go along with it. Like it really bothers them.
Well, let's play their game for today. They shared this one. 7 straight weeks of 250 passing yards. 7 consecutive weeks. 7 consecutive games of 250 passing yards. Billy Edwards is on this list.
Drew Brees.
Not Drew Brees.
Tom Brady.
Not Tom Brady.
He didn't actually play that much. Craig Krenzel.
No.
They ran the ball a lot at Ohio State. Brian Greasy.
Not Brian Greasy.
Kyle Orton.
Not Kyle Orton.
Trevor Siemian.
Not Trevor Siemian.
Matt McGloin.
No.
Mike McQueary.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Penix.
Not Michael Penix.
Kirk Cousins.
Nah.
Connor Cook.
Nope.
Just trying to name some Big Ten quarterbacks over here.
You are naming Big Ten quarterbacks.
They're all Big Ten quarterbacks.
Definitely doing that.
Ricky Stanzi.
No.
Nate Sudfeld.
No.
Braxton Miller.
No.
Dwayne Haskins.
No.
Troy Smith.
You're getting warm.
It's an Ohio State quarterback. I don't think Cardale Jones played that many games. Ohio State quarterback.
Did you say Curtis Painter? I know he's not an Ohio State guy, but
he's not. I didn't say Curtis Painter.
Okay. I want to make sure we mentioned Curtis Painter.
Oh, you were getting really worried. Think he was feeling left out?
I did. I'm going to name every single Big Ten quarterback that's played in the last 20, 30 years.
I didn't name Chad Henne either.
Not Chad Henne.
Who am I not thinking of? So it wasn't Troy Smith.
It was not Troy Smith.
It wasn't Craig Krenzel.
Nope.
Terrell Pryor?
Nope.
JT Barrett?
Not JT Barrett.
Justin Fields?
Not Justin Fields. Right there.
I'm right there, you say.
Yeah.
Joe Germain?
No.
What the hell? Who am I not thinking of? Since when? Since 96?
Since 1996. And this guy has done it. He's joined this list 3 years ago.
Joined the list 3 years ago. The hell was the quarterback 3 years? That wasn't Justin Fields, really?
Nope.
Who joined the list 3 years ago? It wasn't Kyle McCord, who then threw 7 interceptions or something like that?
No, it wasn't Kyle. It wasn't 3 pick sixes Kyle McCord.
Oh, my God. Who have I not said?
Playoff pit. I mean, unless it was the first guy you said, and it.
I swear to God, if I said it and I'm going to lose my mind.
Fairly positive you have not said him.
We'll find out in a second.
Told you, it's elusive company.
Oh, C.J. Stroud.
C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, I didn't say C.J. Stroud. You're right. I didn't say
C.J. Stroud, Billy Edwards, the only 2 Big Ten quarterbacks with 7 consecutive games.
That?
I had a few others, but
yeah, that might be enough.
It's the World Series. The World Series tonight, and this is from Sarah Langs. This looks like it will be, assuming you can let me know if I'm wrong here, but can we assume that Shohei and Aaron Judge will be the American League NL MVP?
I think we can assume that.
Okay,
yes.
so then this will be the 7th World Series matchup between league MVPs in the divisional era, so since 1969. Any chance that we can get
no
any
chance.
of the other 6 matches?
0 chance.
There is an Oriole on here.
There's an Oriole on there. That was 83 Cal Ripken?
Not 83.
So it was 70 Frank Robinson.
It was 70. It was not Frank. He was not the MVP that year.
Oh, Boot Powell.
Boot
yeah,
Powell
my
was
bad,
the
my
MVP.
Bad. Yikes.
Going up against the National League MVP.
Who was the MVP in the National League in 1970? That would have been. I mean, it's the Reds. I'm just trying to think of who it was for the Reds. Who was the MVP in 1970? Was it Johnny Bench?
It was Johnny Bench.
Was it? Okay.
Well, no, 1970 was that was the first, in the divisional era. So Boog Powell and Johnny Bench. A lot of Reds representation. Joe Morgan and Fred Lynn in 1975.
Okay.
Then Joe Morgan and Thurman Munson in 76.
Wow.
Then we had 1980. It was 2 third basemen going up against each other.
George Brett.
George Brett was one of them.
And Oh, God. Oh, God. Pete Rose?
Not Pete Rose.
So Mike Schmidt.
Mike Schmidt, yes. George Brett versus Mike Schmidt in 1980, 1988.
I guess I don't remember Pete Rose was on the Phillies by 1980. 1988, you say?
Yes.
So that was 88 was San Francisco, Oakland, or was that 87?
That was 87. Yeah, it was Oakland.
88 was Oakland, since Dodgers. Oakland Dodgers. That was Kirk Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Canseco.
Jose Canseco versus Kirk Gibson, and then the most recent, or at least before this year, 12 years ago, 2012.
2012 was San Francisco.
It was.
Buster Posey.
It was Buster Posey.
And can't remember if that was Texas or Detroit. Texas?
It was not Texas.
Detroit.
It was Detroit.
Cabrera?
It was Miguel Cabrera, yes. All right, and then just because I'm not going to be able to do it next week, because it'll be old news. Lamar Jackson, 5 touchdowns. That is his 5th game with 5 touchdown passes. 10th player in NFL history with 5 games of 5 touchdown passes.
I thought I might have seen this list the other day.
Unless Lamar goes and throws 5 touchdowns again against the Browns, then
Drew Brees
would give me a reason to do
right?
it. Drew Brees is number 1, 11 5 touchdown pass games.
And I feel it was the big dogs. It was Brady, right?
Brady's number 2, tied for second with 9.
Manning.
Wait, which one?
Peyton.
Peyton also had 9.
Roethlisberger.
Roethlisberger's on the list, 6. Tied for 4th.
Marino
also at 6.
Was it Mahomes?
Patrick
was
Mahomes also has 6.
I saw this list.
So you got the top 6 here. You have Lamar at 5, so you have 7. We are looking for 3 more.
Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre.
Not Brett Favre. Only 4 games for the bum Brett Favre.
He still has good human to fall back on. Thankfully, he still has that. That would be tough.
He's got time to redeem himself.
He didn't have that going for him. I'm not sure I remember who's on the list now. I remember the top of the list. I don't remember who else was on the list. So Joe Montana.
Not Joe
Steve
Montana.
Young.
No.
Warren Moon.
No. Warren Moon had 4.
Oh, okay. Jim Kelly.
Not Jim Kelly.
John Elway. Troy Aikman.
He is active, the guy that...
Active.
Yes.
Russell Wilson.
Also at 5. And then there's one other guy with 5. Did it in the 50s. Don't think we're going to get him. Chicago Bear.
Chicago Bear.
Apparently played 1 game with the Baltimore Colts. But it was weird. He played for the Bears from like 49 to like 56 or 7. I was like just looking at his Wikipedia. And he's also the place kicker.
Oh, George Blanda.
George Blanda. 5 touchdowns.
I think of him as a Raider, not as a Bear. Was he a Bear?
I mean, he started his career with the Bears.
I believe you. I don't know why.
Maybe he won his AFL championships with the Raiders. I guess that.
Okay. That's why I think of George
Blanda.
Blanda as a Raider. All right, very good. Tell everybody what's going on at Live Casino and Hotel.
Every time that you go out there during a Baltimore or Washington football game, home games that is, and they score touchdowns, Live Rewards members get $7 in free slot play. You have to have your Live Rewards card inserted correctly into the slot machine, any slot machine, on the floor, and be actively playing. But once those touchdowns score during home games for Baltimore or Washington football games, Live Rewards members, $7 in free slot play. Adirondack Mills must be 21 to play. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
And now let's get totally tubular.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up this weekend. Tonight, Maryland. Maryland soccer is the number 2 team in the country. Number 2 team in the country. They take on Michigan on the road tonight. They just got a nice result against UCLA the other evening. That was a big one for Maryland. 7 o'clock, Big Ten Network Plus. Game 1 of the World Series, Yankees-Dodgers, 8:08. Garrett Cole, Jack Flaherty. That's on Fox. Followed by just as big Rutgers-USC which is already starting at 11, and I'm sure nothing could go wrong with a baseball game at 8 o'clock. That game will definitely kick off right at 11 o'clock and not end up starting close to midnight and going until 4 a.m.
I told my friend, I was like, listen, everyone's going to be at the Dodgers game. You got to go to the USC Rutgers
sneak out,
game.
right? Like, tickets will be like top $5.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently,
they might be paying you to go.
I think there might be concerts at like all the arenas. Like it's like the craziest night
in LA. Well, they can handle it because they've got good.
They do have an infrastructure.
Yeah.
The big college football game tonight is Boise State UNLV at 10:30 on CBS Sports Network. Significant for the
big college football game.
Yeah, that's significant for the race for the Group of 5 spot in the college football playoff.
Not gonna be Liberty.
No, they lost. That's right.
I guess it could be. I don't know. Who knows what will happen.
Tomorrow, Notre Dame Navy noon on ABC. Fox Sports 1, Maryland, Minnesota 3:30. Flow Sports, Towson, Monmouth at 1 o'clock. ESPN Plus has Loyola Lafayette Soccer at 1, Morgan State, North Carolina Central Football at 3, Vermont UMBC Soccer at 7. Stevenson Football's at Eastern tomorrow at noon, GoMaxSports.tv. Hopkins is at Ursinus at 1, Centennial Conference.tv. Game 2 of the World Series tomorrow night, 8:08 on Fox. We know Yamamoto is going for the Dodgers. We don't know. Why wouldn't it be Rodon? Is there a reason why the Yankees haven't announced that? It's weird. I don't know what to make of that. Big college football tomorrow is LSU Texas A&M 7:30 on ABC. Where's Texas Vanderbilt? What is that?
4:15, I think. SEC Network.
SEC Network.
Yeah.
Good to bury that one. And game days at Indiana for some reason, despite the fact that the game is so irrelevant, it's on Big Ten Network at noon. So there's that. Tomorrow night, who cares? Sunday. CBS, Ravens, Browns, 1 o'clock.
There's nothing tomorrow night? There's no good game?
No, the Capitals play.
Oh.
No, I did the football games. The Capitals play tomorrow night if you care about that. Bears, Commanders is the late local TV game on CBS, 4:25. The only game on Fox locally is Bills, Seahawks at 4 o'clock. Sunday night game, Cowboys, 49ers, 8:20 on NBC. Non-sports?
Non-sports. There were non-sports. Before, that's the Apple TV show with Billy Crystal. If anybody wants to check out that on Disney, on Disney Plus and Hulu, is Road Diary. Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
They've been doing the big push for that.
Yes, behind the scenes of Springsteen's concerts over the recent years. Maybe this one will be good for you. Seth Meyers has a special on HBO tomorrow night. Dad Man Walking. All about, funny stuff for dads.
Sure.
So I think it'd be right up your alley.
Sure.
That's really it. New episode of The Penguin on HBO on Sunday nights. Not a new Saturday Night Live this week. Next week.
Before the election, they're taking a week off?
No, 11/2 will be the...
I understand that, but we're 2 weeks out from the... This is the only time that people ever care about Saturday Night Live.
It's going to be... Wait a minute, was that last... I can't remember because I crossed it out. I can't... I'm sure they announced who next week's is.
Next week is John Mulaney and Chappell Roan.
Chappell
Still,
Roan,
I cannot believe they're taking the week off 2 weeks out from the election. That's insanity.
Let me call Lauren and figure out what's going on.
Jesus Christ.
But yes, non-sports wise, not a whole lot.
All right.
Just of course the UFC fights. That'll be the big.
Yeah.
That's the big thing this weekend.
That's the one. Thanks to Stan. Thanks to
Kamzat made weight against all odds.
Thank God. Thanks to Jerry Hairston.
Didn't think he was gonna make it.
Sure. Thanks to Jay Feely. Thanks to Kurt Warner. Thanks to Bo Smolka. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the...
Oh, my God, it's so good.
There's a moment that goes through Griffin's mind every day where he's like, oh, right. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com.
It's a good tab.
Still no bat around this week. I think it might be back next week. I'm working on that with Paul right now. We'll figure that out. But obviously Project Game Day on Sunday with the Holy Trinity, myself, Rita, and Femi. And then, and Griffin, right?
Yeah.
Griffin.
Everyone's waiting for my power rank.
That's true. That's the moment.
I don't think the Vikings are going to be in there.
This time they might be deserved. And then, of course, we'll be back on Monday recapping.
Kind of like I was on to something this whole time.
Oh, yeah? You think you were seeing the future. I knew all along. All right. Thanks, everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Maryland 5-Star Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, Royal Farms, Green Turtle, Bet Park Sportsbooks in Towson and Canton, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, the Costa San, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go Ravens, go Navy, go Terps, go Towson, go Morgan, go everybody. Duke sucks. We wrap up today's show and the week with segment number 3 of the Arthur Maulet Show. Third and final segment of the Arthur Maulet Show, PressBox 105.7 The Fan. Glenn, Rita, and Arthur Maulet will be back on the field this week, and we can't wait for that. We've had so much fun here. Yeah.
I want to give a quick shout out, right? Everybody came, and thank you so much for coming. I want to shout this man out right here. His shirt is got Ravens embroidery on the sleeves, and it is. I've been looking at your shirt the whole night.
Attention to detail.
Hey, and I love that. I love the attention to detail. Like, I just thought it was a regular shirt until I saw your sleeves, your cuffs, and I was like,
that's dope.
Gotta shout you out.
That's dope.
Hey, we are at the Gourmet at Kenilworth. The Gourmet at Kenilworth offers happy hours 7 days a week, including all-day happy hour every Monday and on Ravens game days. Trust me, you don't want to miss out.
Not at all.
$8 mules and crushes. Ooh.
I'll be here Sunday. Thank you.
Yeah, we got to talk more about that.
I'll be here Sunday.
Bye week.
$15. Can we make an exception for Art so he can take advantage?
Week.
$15 beer buckets, mussels, flatbreads, popcorn chicken, and shrimp tempura, and much more. Plus, they are now taking holiday reservations. Give them a call. Visit their website, The Gourmet at Kenilworth. Spell it out, The Gourmet at Kenilworth.com. All right, so we learned earlier this year Halloween's important to you.
Very, very, very important.
So give me the rundown. I know you.
I can't tell y'all what I'm going to be, bro. Y'all going to have to just watch on Instagram via Instagram Live, man.
Can we get a hint?
No.
Oh.
Nope.
You have told us that
I'm going to go at this, man.
You are enforcing
rookies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to the Halloween store. I'm getting everybody a costume.
So they're wearing what you tell them.
They're wearing what I pick. I can't haze them, so I got to do something.
I'm just wondering now what a certain first-round pick might have to wear.
Yeah.
Some shackles.
Just wondering what that might have to look like.
I'm going to give them something nice.
So in the past,
Yo.
What all, give me the last
been?
couple of years, what all have you been?
I've been a huge minion, like the little minion things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like a big blow-up minion, like crazy, like little minion. I was I don't know if anybody watched the show Martin. I was one of the security guards for Martin.
Okay.
What else was I, man? I was I was like this blow-up dinosaur. But like in the suit,
I know
was
that.
like riding a dinosaur.
Right? I know that one.
I was that. So that was the last 3 I was.
But
so.
you love Halloween.
Oh, I love it, man.
Where does that come from?
I like it because it throws people for a loophole because I'm such a serious guy all the time and they call me angry man and all this stuff. And then when they see me dress up, they're like, oh, Arthur's dressing up for Halloween.
It's so funny that's
the kid in me, man.
That's your reputation.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a
it's
nice
so
guy,
funny,
bro.
Like, having done this with you for a couple of months, it's the exact opposite of everything that I know about you, which is so funny.
Yeah.
So does everybody else take it as seriously as you do?
Well, Halloween?
Will other guys show up to the building that day?
I mean, Zay dressed up last year. He takes it pretty serious. Zay be dressing up. So I think I'm going to just be in competition with Zay for the best costume because
there used to be like a big team party every year, too.
Oh, we got that. We got
you
that.
guys still do
the party?
Yeah, we still do the party, you know. But, you know.
So are you doing 2 different costumes?
I'm doing 2,
one
yeah.
on Halloween and one for the party.
28, yeah. Because on Halloween, do we play? When is
no,
Halloween?
it's
No,
next
that's a
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
you guys play the following Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we know Halloween's a big deal. I appreciate that. Are you a scary movie person?
No, I'm not a scary movie person because they're so predictable, bro. They're so predictable. You know when someone's going to trip and fall. Like, you know someone's not going to be able to open this door. Like, this door doesn't work. So
you know the dumb white guy is getting killed first. Like, you know that's the way it's going to work.
Usually the black guy.
That actually is true. That is true. Normally it is.
Literally.
You are right about that. You are right about that. You are right about that.
Nah, but honestly, bro, like, I don't really watch scary movies like that. They're too predictable.
Would you go? Do you go to like haunted houses?
I'll go to haunted houses. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really not too afraid of it though. Like,
this is the.
I'm from Louisiana. You know, it's all
that's what I was gonna say.
That's true. That's
right?
a valid point.
It's sort of.
y'all go to what's the names for fun? You know, where what's
Yeah,
it?
where people are
Graveyards.
buried. Yeah, graveyards.
People
Yes, thank you.
graveyards.
Cemetery.
Chill, we
Fine.
do not go for fun.
Cemetery.
They literally have cemetery tours
That
down
we do,
there.
though. We do. We literally do. It's kind of spooky. I never got into that side of my city.
Okay.
I'm cool off that.
Got it.
I love you, Lord.
Even though it is beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Very beautiful. Food good.
That
too.
leads me into superstitions.
Yes.
The
poll.
internet found a video.
Oh, he better have done that.
Okay.
He better have that.
Okay.
And I was like, shout out to Falele.
Yep.
That's why I mess with you, bro.
Okay.
Do
so
not jinx
for
us.
those that don't know, as y'all were walking off the field on Monday night, there was a pole that was sort of in the middle of this tunnel, whatever you want to call this area.
Going
where
back to the locker room. Yep.
Going back to the locker room. And Daniel Falele started to
To
walk
the right of the pole,
around the
yeah.
pole and then very quickly realized, no, you do not split the pole.
You do not split that pole.
That's
Do
right.
not split
You
the pole.
do not split that pole.
right.
That is
I've walked with so many friends in my life, and I will grab them by their shirt. Do not split the pole, buddy.
no matter what.
No matter what. If you split it, I'm just going to go around the other way. If you want to. I'm not serious about it. Like, it's serious. Don't
Are
split the pole.
you the type of that somebody starts to, like, you'll go grab them?
I would be like,
and-
yo, this way.
Wow.
Like
You're
my
hardcore.
trainer in the off season, he's horrible at walking. Like I have to tell him every 2 days, like, bro, do not split the pole. Like, come back this way.
Wow.
He's
dude.
watching right now. Yeah, Sean, I'm talking about you, bro. Do not split the pole,
Sean, don't split the pole.
Man, is this the only one, or do
Yeah,
you
that's
have
really the only one I got, honestly.
nothing like
Not to step on the crack, break your mama's back.
nothing you got to do pregame, nothing that you got to do?
I have to lay on the 50-yard line pregame. I have to just literally just lay there, look in the sky, and just give myself like 2 minutes of silence, and just kind of think where I'm at. Yeah.
That's it. You're not otherwise superstitious whatsoever.
No, not really, because that's the thing I can control. Like I can control someone not splitting the pole, and I can control control myself going on the 50-yard line. And,
Now,
and
somebody
thinking about
splits
where I'm
the
at.
pole. If you're ahead and they're behind you, and
If
they
I don't
decide to
see it, it ain't on me.
Okay, that's how I feel.
Yep.
That's how I feel. That's on you.
So you're not
Yeah, I
worried
can't
about
control it at that point.
What do you think might happen if you do split?
I don't know. I don't want to find out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know, and I do not want to find out, bro.
Fair enough. I can dig that. Oh, man. Hey, today's show is also brought to you by Easy Pass. Make your trip to the game easy by saving the Easy Pass way for tolls. Go to driveeasymd.com. That's driveeasymd.com. Does it feel like the entire AFC is like purposefully loading up because they know how good you guys are, and it's like an arms race at this point?
I mean, bring it, bro. Bring it.
Look, the proof is in the pudding, right? After the Bills lost to the Ravens, they go out, they get Amari Cooper, and then
at the end of the day, we still been playing against these guys.
No, for sure. But then, they saw Tampa Bay, what happened the other night. Then next thing you know, DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Chiefs. So, maybe it's a move that needs to be made, but it does feel like
Hey, man.
the Ravens right now, everybody feels like they need to keep up.
We're just focusing on getting better every week.
I appreciate that.
That's a
That
nice
is the
thing to
correct
say.
answer.
That's
That
a
is
nice
the
thing to
correct
Focusing
answer.
on getting better every
I'll
week.
say it
all
for you. I'll say it for you. They loading up.
They're
They
scared.
they loading up
They're
because they don't
scared.
want to play you in the
it just
playoffs.
depends on what you call loaded.
An official
Oops.
statement from the desk of Rita and I.
Absolutely.
Just depends on what you call loaded, man.
That's
That's why I said, oops.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. All
being
right.
honest.
We mentioned earlier it's Cleveland week.
Yeah.
One.
Gonna be a physical game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Physical game. They got Jameis out there for the first time. I know Chubb's back. This is the second week. They're going to try to run that ball. They're going to try to get the run game started, probably play action pass and take some sideline shots. That's what I see them doing, kind of controlling the game, keeping the ball away from Lamar and our dynamic offense. And, the more we can get Lamar the ball, the higher the score goes up.
That's a fact. That's a fact. So two things. One, you bring up Jameis. I've gotten this sense that, Jameis has become this sort of, larger-than-life figure for other
Jameis
guys.
is a really good guy, you know what I'm saying? But he will throw you a 50-50.
Yes, he
baby.
will.
Hmm.
Oh,
I
yes,
call
he
him.
will.
I was telling my coach today, 50-50.
You think it might not just be game one for Art, but maybe, interception one for the season? Can we call the shot?
I'm not jinxing myself.
All right, fair enough. I thought you just said you weren't superstitious. I thought you just said that you didn't have any other.
I would say this. It's not about being superstitious, but for me, it's just I don't speak on on those type of things because you never know what you'll do in that position.
I get it.
I just try to play hard. I don't like giving guys extra fuel.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it's just we're going to see you when we see you.
What is it about facing teams that are desperate? Like this
I think I wouldn't say. I mean, I guess you are desperate or whatever. But for me, once I signed with Baltimore last year, I really realized that, you know, we're going to get everybody's best shot. Literally, it don't matter who it is. I don't care if we're. So you see when we went last year to Arizona, we got their best shot. So you know, they looking at us like, you know, this really high and mighty team. Like we're going to get everyone's best shot. So that's why I always say like, we got to work hard because week in and week out, like. Everybody's know that the Baltimore Ravens is rolling in town, and they're going to play us harder than they play anyone else. And it's, you know, you want it that way because that means that we're really good, right? So it's like, you know, that's why I always say, like, on to the next week because we can't really get excited because it's like everybody's going to give us our best shot. Everybody wants to beat the Baltimore Ravens, you know?
Yep.
It's not lost on me that this game is going to be called a quote-unquote trap game because they are, you know, they only have one win. When you guys, you know, come to teams like this that on paper or whatever it is that they've done thus far has not been on your level, how do you make sure that you stay grounded so that you don't overlook your opponent?
I mean, you know, at the end of the day, like, you look at those losses, right? And they only got one win, so they're 1-6 or something like that.
Yeah, 1 of 5,
but all those losses are within, like, 7 points. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're getting blowed out and they look horrible. So it's like, is it truly a trap game? They're decent. You know what I'm saying? They're really good. They got a good defense, man. They got playmakers all over that defense. They got Nick Chubb back. They got a vet that can control the game. So it's like we have to look at it like they're coming to try to win. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to turn their season around. I wouldn't necessarily call it a trap game because it's so earlier in the season. Now, if we're 12 games down the line, now that's a trap game. You know what I'm saying? Right now, they can still flip their season around because they have so much leeway on the back end of the schedule. So for me, it's like we have to really go in there and make them know that you guys can't play with us this week.
Let me wrap with this. When you walk out there on Sunday, this was the first time you've ever been hurt. This is the first time you've ever missed time. Will it mean more to you? Will there be something that you'll feel on Sunday that there'll be a greater appreciation for?
You know, it's so funny. Ro was talking to me about that. He was like, man, since you've been hurt, like, did you, you know, it made you love the game more? And I told him, like, nah. He looked at me like, I was like, nah, because, you know, for me, like, this is the game. This is all I have. So I always love the game. I never approach the game and not give it love because if it doesn't love me, it's not going to love you back. You know what I'm saying? The football guys are gonna pay you for your hard work and the love of the game, or it's gonna, if you don't love the game, you don't give it all you got, they're not gonna repay you. You know, that's why I've been so fortunate to be healthy for 8 years of my career. You know what I'm saying? Because I put in the hard work, I show the love to the game, and it reciprocates it back to me. You know, so that's how I look at it. You know, and for me, it's just like I'm not really super excited to play. I got business to handle. I got a lot of time to make up for. So for me, it's like about goddamn time.
There we go. It is about goddamn time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Back on Sunday.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Arthur Maulet. Make some noise for him. Are you struggling with addiction? Stigma keeps people from reaching out, but there is help available. For more information on what you can do about addiction, go to stopoverdose.maryland.gov. Thank you all for coming out and hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you guys for coming and hanging out, man.
Yes.
As always, go to PressBoxOnline.com/Maulet to find out where we're going to be when. Appreciate everybody at the Gourmet here at Kenilworth. Awesome place. If you have not been yet, you need to check this spot out. It is gorgeous. The food is delicious.
Beautiful. I'm coming over here tomorrow.
I'm coming back for happy hour.
I'm really eat here tomorrow.
I'm going to be happy at the happy hour.
I'm really coming to eat here tomorrow.
For Arthur Maulet, for Rita, I'm Glenn. This has been the Arthur Maulet Show.
Shout out to PressBox, man.